Gather round, freaks, for Gotham City is built on buried secrets, and some refuse to stay dead. And like a certain masked vigilante once learned, vengeance never rests quietly, and the past always laughs last. Hey, did you see this one? Your angel of death awaits.
Once upon a time, movie magic was dwindling, and things were changing. And this month, Stephen Waters and Hey, Did You See This One? Would like to take you back there. Take you on a trip down memory lane to revisit some of their favorite movies from the late 1900s. From cult classics to box office hits, they'll explore the mysticism of this iconic era of film history. Tune in to relive the magic of the previous century in the nostalgic 90s.
Gotham Radio. Hello, freaks and geeks and squeaks, if you're a bat. My name is Steven Boba Batman Waters, and welcome to Hey, Did You See This One? I'm your host, joined, of course, by my best pal in the whole world, Jason R. Phillips, Mask of the Phantasm, my co-host.
Hello.
We are also joined by two of our favorite guests, Batman and Robin. Just kidding. It's Maitland and Tim Covey. Welcome back, the both of you.
Thank you. I want to be Robin.
Okay.
Sure. I don't think it's flattering an outfit for me, so I'll accept.
All right. So it's been a while since we've seen Cam on the show, but Tim, you were here semi-recently.
Yeah.
So hopefully you'll have a better time discussing this movie than the last one, whatever that was. He Who Shall Not Be Named.
What was it? I want to know.
It wasn't that bad. It was Final Fantasy Advent Children, and it was a fun time despite
never seen it.
It was my actual birthday episode, so I got a little derailed, and I love Final Fantasy, so we talked about a lot of that.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Sure. If it ain't the spirits within, I don't care.
We've also done, which was a great episode.
I'm sure that's a baffling film.
But without without spoiling the movie we're doing, of course I'll tell you right now what movie we're doing. We're doing Batman, Mask of the Phantasm, the 1993, is it 93?
93.
Film based, or I guess set within the universe of the animated television series, which had one series up to that point, and this is somewhere in between season 1 and 2. Beautiful film. I think we all have at least a little bit of nostalgic value when it comes to watching this movie, and I hope that all comes out in the discussion of this film. I guess before we start getting into what this movie means to us, we should probably give a bone to our movie god and give him his synopsis for the week, or else he'll haunt our dreams.
Zardoz speaks to you. He demands you synopsize this film. Tell him how, why, who, what occurs in this film.
I should also say this is episode 230. It's a nice round number.
Congratulations.
Wow. Yeah.
I also feel like I didn't do a great job of introing you, Cam. If you want,
I don't care.
Top.
It's
Okay.
all good.
Star of stage, television, and all sorts of other
Just
things.
television. I don't
Just
think
television.
stage.
I've seen you on a stage.
I guess that's true.
Yeah. Did we choose who was going to do this? Was it Tim? I can't remember. I can do it if no one has anything prepared.
I have nothing really prepared, but whatever you like.
Well, okay. As I said, this movie takes place between season 1 and 2 of the animated series, but it's also sort of a standalone story where you actually have to have no experience with any of Batman to really need you don't need any of that in order to understand what's going on here. I guess maybe some tertiary knowledge of the Joker, but this is sort of like a Batman Year 1 meshed with Batman Year 2 storyline where it gives you enough of the origins without all of the stuff that you've seen a million times. There's no scene of Bruce parents getting blasted outside of a movie theater. There's no pearls bouncing around. It's all the other stuff that is covered in the first Nolan movie. Only it's not 2.5 hours long. It's a nice condensed hour and 20 minutes. But yeah, it's basically the storyline is that a mysterious new villain is entering into Gotham and becomes a serial killer, which is crazy for a kid's movie. I don't know how that got passed, but the serial killer is slowly murdering mob bosses or high up members of basically the crime syndicates of Gotham. And this is causing all of the gangsters to lose their minds. But throughout the movie, we realize that the Joker is also part of this group of crime daddies. So the Joker is also sweating a little bit and concerned about this disturbing phantasm. But also throughout the movie, we get a series of flashbacks that explain a lost love for Bruce Wayne, how he decided that he would put down the cowl before even taking it up in order to sacrifice crime fighting to basically have a happy life, and how that was not meant to be. And this is quite literally a ghost from his past, not only haunting the criminal empires of Gotham City, but Batman himself. And we have a nice giant explosion at the end to wrap it up in a nice little bow. That's more or less what happens in Batman, Mask of the Phantasm.
To add to that, I'd like to say that good call on mentioning that it's kind of year 1, but also this, even though it takes place between season 1 and season 2, technically, it almost feels like its own completely separate thing to the animated series. Just the way that the ending with the Joker, like, is he alive or is he dead, and creating this like backstory for the Joker and creating this backstory for Batman without adding in the actual origin story of Batman. Like, it shows him discovering the Batcave in a completely different way than we're used to. All of that kind of makes this feel like its own separate entity to it, which I appreciate. It's like its own Batman movie.
Not to get into too much production talk right off the bat, but it was originally meant to be just a long episode of the show that would have gone straight to VHS kind of thing. And then it was injected with a bunch of money, and Warner Brothers decided they wanted to do a theatrical release. And so it is basically just a long episode of the show, which is pretty cool. And, Bruce, Timm, and all the guys that were working on that show, they were pretty good at creating original characters. There's quite a few that were created in the cartoon show and still to this day are some fan favorites. And it's always strange to me that this character never got revisited in any capacity. But
I think she has come back in the comics in a recent. Yeah, I had heard that she will show up now and again. Especially, I think I guess that spoiler, whatever, who cares? Especially the lady is now like a more active part of the comics, but I think the Phantasm itself has also shown up.
That's cool. Use it as a Mortal Kombat character. You know how DC characters show up sometimes. She doesn't hesitate about killing. I'd like to see that word glaive hand do some dirty work. On Scorpion. I guess we should do our brief histories before because we could just go on forever about production talk, I think. So let's go into the brief histories.
A brief history.
Cam, since you've been here before and know how to do it, and it's been so long since you've been here, why don't you start this off?
Sure. I mean, my experience is I I don't really know when I saw this movie. Because I don't think I definitely didn't see it in theaters. I would have been a little young, and also it was a huge flop. Like, it's worth saying, it was like they put it out on Christmas and it did not do well. So I don't think it was in theaters for a long time. I liked the show like almost immediately as a kid, but also I think the other thing to remember is this is like right around Batman Returns era, the movie famously that destroyed children's minds.
Yeah.
So I think I was a little scared of Batman stuff. So I think I just caught up with it later, probably maybe rented it on VHS. But it's one that I think we revisit a lot when you're older because, like, everybody says it's one of the best Batman movies for a long time. Now we just have good Batman movies, you know. But for a while there, we had a big gap in Batman, and this movie was a thing that people revisited. I don't know.
I'm just thinking about a gap in Batman. Yeah.
All right, Tim, how about you?
Well, like everybody, I was introduced to the Batman animated series from Saturday morning cartoons and loved it a lot. But also watching from over my shoulder was my dad, who also really, really was quite taken with, for a kid's cartoon show, how mature the approach was, and that every episode had like strong 3-act breaks, and it felt very cinematic, even though it was only 30 minutes long. So come time that this did come to the theaters, I was very, very fortunate that my dad in the new year, so like as Cam mentioned, came out on Christmas, and I remember early in the new year, before I went back to school, after Christmas break, my dad snuck me away to see it in the theater. And that was actually a very fun memory for myself with my dad for that. And I remember walking out of the theater, and it's apt that you mentioned, Cam, the Batman Returns being so close to that my dad kind of felt walking out of the theater saying, like, that's more of a Batman movie to him. And even though I enjoyed it a lot, as I come to understand as I grow older, that there's mature things happening in there that I've come to appreciate more, especially in just the structure of the movie anyway. And then from after that, this movie was a regular watch on sleepovers when friends would come over, I would go to another place, and I would have my bag with my Nintendo 64 in there, and I would also have a copy of Batman Mask of the Phantasm, and that would be the night. And then unlike Advent Children that we did the review on recently, this is a movie I have revisited over and over again, and every time I watch it, I come to appreciate it more and more, and look for new fun things to notice, which there is a lot of it for 76 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Jason.
Yeah, like you guys said, pretty similar. My dad took me to see it in theaters as well, even though I was only 8 years old. But like the way that I remember it is not the way that I viewed it watching it today, where there's a lot of lines in the movie that are meant more for adults. It's definitely one of those movies that a kid can enjoy, but adults can enjoy it as well. But the thing is I don't know if I'm going to show this movie to my son when he's 8, because it is a little bit it's a little bit hardcore for a kids movie. But we have to remember that in '93, a lot of kids movies were really towing the line still, even then. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to wait till he's 9 with some parental guidance. But the animated series was a very large part of my life as a kid, and when Superman came out with the same style animation, and they built that sort of Justice League universe, I was sort of wondering today, like, had this movie done better, would they have made theatrical versions of more of those iterations of that show due to the popularity? But this was sort of the proto Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse in a lot of ways. Like back then, it just unfortunately didn't hit that hard. Maybe if we'll get into it in production talk, but it seemed to have a bit of some production problems. They infused a bunch of money into it, but it didn't really increase the cinematic value. It just made some things better at the end of the day, it feels like a glorified episode of the show. So yeah, that's pretty much where I'm at.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in production talk. I feel like, yeah, I agree with you there, but there's definitely a lot of reasons why that is. I also saw this movie in theaters, even though I'm not significantly younger than you guys, but a couple of years younger than you. But I also, like Cam, I was scared of a lot of like stuff, but for some reason, Batman specifically, nothing Batman ever bothered me, even though like 89 and Returns is so gross and scary, and there's a lot of scary imagery. There's something about Batman in general that like I've always just kind of felt safe inside of. So like it never really bothered me, even though like E.T. freaking out in the cornfield or whatever is like one of the scariest things that I've ever seen as a child. The penguin biting a guy's nose off, not so bad.
Sure.
Yeah. So I was in love with the animated television show when it came out. It was one of the most exciting things to ever happen to me as a child. I didn't realize that like a kid's show could be so encapsulating in terms of like visual style, tone, music, character development. Like it made me understand properly how stories should be told in a way, because a lot of cartoon shows would be like 15-minute episodes with a bunch of loud noises and funky stuff happening, whereas the Batman animated series was like, these are all tiny little plays, and you're going to appreciate every single character within those plays, and you're going to learn something every
like lightly serialized eventually, right? Like there were it built on itself, you know.
They would do like it was kind of like the X-Men animated series or Spider-Man, where they would have like 3 or 4 episodes that sort of were a storyline, and then they'd bring stuff over that you could remember. And Batman was one of the first shows to do that.
The Spider-Man show, and unlike X-Men, going back and watching those now, they don't really hold up. Whereas if you go back and watch the Batman animated series now, it's almost like you appreciate it more as an adult, because you're like, these are so mature and well written.
Well, like the Mr. Freeze episode is like tremendous, which also has a great Mark Hamill performance in that one too.
Yeah. And I do like X-Men and Spider-Man as well, and I'll put them on every once in a while when I'm trying to sleep, because it just puts me in that nostalgia comfort mode. But I can't put on Batman to fall asleep, because I end up just watching it.
Because they're all like little Batman movies is what I remember them being like.
But yeah, I saw it in theaters, and I got it on VHS, and then I got it on DVD, and then I got it on Blu-ray, and it's always been in my house in some way, and I've always had access to it. And I watch it every now and then, because I think it is. If this was a live action Batman movie, I think it would probably be considered the best Batman movie ever made by everyone who watches it.
There are rumors that that Reeves Part 2 is going to have Phantasm in it, so I hope that rumor comes
just
true.
Cast Scarlett Johansson. She could be an Andrea Beaumont type.
Yeah, sure.
I guess she's a little old for I don't know ages.
I think that they're supposed to be like in their early mid 20s in the flashbacks, and then they're like in their mid 30s in the, I don't know.
Batman just always looks like a cube, so it's hard to
This is him, his baby cube. He's got Dr. Cube edges.
I'm Dr. Cube.
All right. Well, since we're already sort of talking about it, let's get into production talk.
All right. Quiet on set. Are we rolling? Okay, let's shoot this piece of shit. Sound. Speed. Action!
All right. So this is the segment of the show where we talk about the production of the movie that we're discussing on the show. I mean, there's a lot to talk about. We've already touched on a few things where this was never intended to be a theatrical release. They injected $6 million into the production in order to turn it into a theatrical release, but they only gave them an additional 8 months to do it. So the majority of all of the stuff that they added was just set extensions and things to
make it the right aspect ratio, right? Yeah,
exactly. So all
and I think that the biggest thing that makes it more of like a movie than the regular show is the score for this thing is comically epic for the source material is something I noticed.
Yes. Shirley Walker. I dug into a little bit today, and she has a long storied career, but she also has a long storied career as being the background person to a lot of other people. But it seems like she did a lot of the composition for a ton of movies that all of us have seen and love, but she's always kind of hitched onto the name of somebody else. which makes me feel like she was probably doing a lot of work and not getting a ton of credit, which sucks. But this is one of the few movies in her entire filmography where she is the marquee, and god dang does she do a good job, because there's so many good little moments in this. That the motorcycle fight, every time it zooms in on Batman and you just hear those drums going wild underneath.
Yeah.
It's so good.
I also think like my favorite thing about the weird injection of money is it's like the opposite of the usual like dumb studio exec stories where you hear that like essentially Eric Radomski was doing that opening CGI sequence, and they were just futzing around with it to potentially make it the opening for the TV show. And some executive walked in and was like, "Holy moly!" And then he was essentially like, "We can't be showing this on TV. This got to be a movie." And everyone was like, and they truly were like, "No, we don't want that." And they were like, "Too bad, it's a movie now."
But it's a computer generated image. We have to use it for the.
So this are these computers that you've been talking about.
Exactly. Like it's so odd, but also that was very cool. And I'm like, man, why isn't there more, that weird like Art Deco exploitation stuff after the Tim Burton Batman? It's like, but why wasn't there a CGI Art Deco thing? Because you can see how it's pretty rudimentary, but it looks great in that context.
Even, I mean, that's one of the greatest things about the Gotham City that exists within the animated TV show, is that it's definitely taking inspiration from like 40s Art Deco, but it also, leans into that Gothic edge, but it has its own identity as well, right? Like it's not really comparable to anything we've seen in any other Batman movie. And it's also one of the things that I complain a little bit about the Nolan movies, is that it does just feel like they're in a regular city, right? Like there's nothing.
They're in Chicago for sure.
Yeah.
They're just in Chicago.
Yeah. And what I like, I'm kind of back and forth on the Reeve one, but I do like that it's Bizarro world.
Yeah.
Where there is fake drugs, and like you kind of do feel like there could be a Riddler.
Somewhere. And like the shots where they're in the Penguin's office in his club and stuff, and it's like under a bridge that looks over two other bridges, and you're like, okay, this doesn't make sense in terms of city structure, but it looks cool.
And like, fair enough, some asshole might just be like, it's just Glasgow or whatever. And like, I guess I don't know that one. Sorry.
That's true. Yeah.
For the background design for the series in general, they would actually counterintuitively work, instead of painting on top of white, they were actually painting on top of black, and they were painting building lights on top of black, and so they were creating silhouettes and creating depth from just that kind of added silhouette, which I think is a big part of the atmosphere in general. That suits all this. That like it's even in daylight, it feels like the city is engulfed in shadows.
Yeah, it's true, and it looks like the background paintings also are backlit by real light. I don't know if they really are, but that's the look that you get when there's light in the city. It sort of illuminates in a different way than most animated features. And Gotham's supposed to be perpetually nighttime, even though it does have day. I think it's supposed to be like a smog or something heavy hanging over the city that just makes it feel like nighttime all the time. Or it might just be like from the viewer's point of view, everything just happens at night. So I don't know.
I mean, the interesting stuff happens at night, that's for sure. But yeah, I mean, in this movie, we get a lot of pretty beautiful, pastel color skies and stuff when they're in the graveyard and things like that. They're not
especially the flashbacks. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I think it's supposed to be contrasty to like what his life used to be and what he envisioned there, and like looking in the past, everything's a little bit more vivid and colorful. And now that he's in his present, his brooding present, it's always raining and gloomy and reaper killing people. It's terrifying. Yeah. But not to harp again on too much on like the lack of time they gave them, I think is one of the main reasons that they had already done the majority of the movie, and they're like, all right, here's $6 million more, make it movie theater ready. And it's like, we can't redraw everything. So most of it was just expanding on the paintings that they had already done and making them wide enough to be able to fit into the proper aspect ratio, which kind of sucks, because if they had given them enough money to begin with and maybe budgeted some of that to go into marketing, then there would have been maybe a little bit more money that would have came out of the box office, and then maybe we would have had a whole animated series. I mean, maybe not. Those Disney movies, they don't really get a lot of sequels theatrically.
It's kind of an interesting like mix, because I think on some ways like what we're loving and describing is the fact that instead of having a singular director, like if you look it's directed by like 8 people, and that's because they essentially, when somebody wasn't working on an episode of the series, they would work on a sequence out of this movie. So I think that all the sequences are pretty much bangers because they each had an individual director to focus on them. But then it's like the straight to video market was huge, so it's like it was kind of a weird thing where putting this theatrical was like a bad idea, but I also think that they probably were like, whatever, and they probably made the money back quintuple on video, and then they're just like, okay, well, why don't we just not do video? And then at the same time, you're like, it's this weird streak of pretty much since the mid 80s where putting a TV show into theaters made money with like, you know, Care Bears, Transformers, Chipmunk Adventure, the Jetsons. We all remember the weird Jetsons movie when the Jetsons was done like 40 years earlier. DuckTales, I forgot about. Treasure of the Lost Lamp.
That movie ruled. I had that on VHS as a kid.
Goofy movie. So it's like, yeah, it was like a weird gamble at the time. But the fact that they continue to produce Batman animated VHS movies probably just proves. And Disney did the same with the Aladdin movies, I think, too, right? One of those was
they all have a second one, and
and I think that it was meant for video and didn't. Yeah.
I almost include this movie in that like series of adaptations of famous comic books, like The Killing Joke, and this, if you group this in with those movies, this feels like a movie adaptation of the animated series. It's sort of how I'm viewing it now in retrospect. Like if they release this now to be a throwback, it would probably be, people would love it. But it came out back then, and people include it in part of the animated series, which watching it today, it doesn't really play like that for me. It's just the same style animation, because it even feels a bit more cinematic than even the show does. There's some sequences in this that are very like made for the big screen, and I'm wondering if they, even since it was going to VHS, were they trying to make it more cinematic to begin with, or did they just add in some stuff?
It had obviously a huge budget compared to episodes of the show, so they were spending a lot more time animating things in greater detail, right? So if you look at the show compared to the movie, it's going to look jankier than this does because they spent a lot more time on making sure everything looks crisp and nice.
But I also do think if you do compare this to the average 90s theatrical, it looks a little, you see some of the jankiness, but I also do wonder, there's the weird thing, like I'm not animation pilled enough to know all the terminology, but there are sequences where the fluidity of the motion is like, I know it's like normally a TV show animates the 1s and 3s or whatever the fuck they say, but like you know, like Akira, he did every single fucking frame, and it's like, I think sometimes you see some sequences where you're like, oh, like that opening sequence, he's moving so fluidly that you're like, oh, this is more like an anime than a American animated. And same with like just not an empty room, like Batman the animated series. Man, oh man, it's always like 2 guys in a giant, beautiful looking room. There's never background.
I think like all that Joker stuff as well, when he's got Salvatore in the world of the future, like all that feels like it's heightened animation, and the motorcycle fight as well. There's and pretty much anything where the mask is coming after somebody, it's so well shot, and like the way they animate the smoke and everything, it's so satisfying to the eyeball.
Also, that motorcycle fight really reminded me of what's that movie, Streets of Fire?
Oh yeah, that ruled. Batman should play some music. Also, Travis's comment, we mentioned it earlier. Yes, and we agree. No, also I have trouble imagining that like sniveling autistic Robert Pattinson Batman having like a romance. You know, even him and Catwoman was kind of.
We're like, what? How do we do this?
Like circumstances. Yeah, he just seems kind of asexual. Yeah, I don't know.
I don't have a penis.
I never did.
I'm gay for Joker.
I love Joker. You want us? Okay. I was gonna keep going, but you guys know this was also the only Batman animated movie that was released theatrically, I believe, up until The Killing Joke, which is a long stint, and then that hadn't been topped until a Batman where he was made of Lego bricks. So
hell yeah,
it was a long time, and it's I mean, out of the animated ones, I'm gonna have to put it at the top. I like Lego Batman, but that is.
I didn't know they
completely
put the
different thing.
Killing Joke in theaters. Even
I think it was a limited release, but even this was a limited release. It was not released in the UK. It was not released.
Also,
I
didn't
think it
people
was-
hate the Killing Joke? I never saw it, but
they added some stuff to it. that
Yeah,
wasn't
didn't
in the
they add
comic.
that he's like, I love to molest bad girls?
Yeah, he has sex with Batgirl, and everybody's like, that's not their relationship.
Well, yeah, I think that there were like implications in the comics that they just made like, and it's like, you know, like in Game of Thrones where everything's implied through like other people talking. It's like that, except in Game of Thrones they just show it everywhere. They did that kind of thing. Which, yeah, I didn't like it, but I watched all of it. It's no Mask of the Phantasm, is what I'm saying, because this movie is, you know, it basically is like safe for kids, but there's so much adult stuff going on that you're like, oh yeah, they definitely banged. Like I was watching it again this week, and I never really caught that she's wearing, I think, just his shirt the next morning. I'm like, oh,
and he's got a towel around his neck.
Yeah. This is classic. They just banged.
That's why he didn't stop those gangsters, because he wasn't focused on semen retention. His power was sapped.
I think to answer Travis here, like I don't really see it as a cliffhanger in so much that it's its own self-contained story, and he's absolutely right, because one of our friends' podcast did this, and I was talking to him, and he said they gave it a bad review and didn't like it, but I actually like this movie. I think it's pretty great. I give it a pretty high rating. So it might be divisive among fans, just like every superhero thing ever, you know?
Yeah. All right. Well, I don't have much else to add. If we want to add more production-y stuff as we go, but yeah, I think we covered most of the bases here. Yep. So why don't we get into the body of the episode?
The body of the episode?
The body of the episode.
Ho, 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 ho! Everybody back up, because here comes the body of the episode.
We're making good time, I gotta say.
I'm on it.
Fit all that into 30 minutes.
Yes, so Batman Mask of the Phantasm from the year 1993. It opens with a beautifully rendered 3D animation of Gotham City with Shirley Walker's amazing score that is sort of a super operatic version of the television show's theme song.
Yeah.
But it just kind of takes you on a trip through Gotham City. It's cool. It gives you a nice preview to all the voice actors that are in the movie as the credits roll. And it's been a while since I've watched this, and I had forgotten how many people are actually in it. But I think the most exciting of whom are Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill for me, because
it's going to be like Abe Vigoda.
I love Abe Vigoda.
Yeah. And Stacy Keach.
Oh, they call him Stacy Keach Jr., which I
noticed that. I was like, what?
I didn't realize that was his deal.
Abe Vigoda basically in this movie is like an animated anti-smoking ad. He's the only character you ever see smoking, and then you see him as an old man who's just constantly grabbing an oxygen tank the whole time.
That's one thing about this movie, is that the flashbacks have a lot of great setup and payoff, and sometimes even in reverse, where like in one flashback where Batman later on is doing the whole his first caper, and you see Bullock as like a beat cop. Yeah, which is like a good little way to show the history of everything.
Yeah, I agree. And once this concludes, it's I remember watching this in theater and just like my mind being blown as a kid, being like, it's got 3D in it. Oh my god! But we get a nice a pan across a painted version of the city, and we land on a building where we've got a bunch of mobsters talking about one of the most cliche gags in any sort of crime syndicate, which is
the bat. These are fake bills. You need a microscope or whatever.
I can't remember. He says like some super microscope to be able to tell.
Yeah,
nano microscope,
neutron microscope. Yeah,
right down to Benjamin Franklin's stubble over here.
And their plan is to start, putting the bills out as soon as possible. And they're like,
anybody got a problem with that?
And they're like, no, boss, no. And then Batman arrives, beats the shit out of everybody. As Cam was saying earlier, like this is when you immediately realize the quality of the animation compared to the regular show is just like super heightened, and it does feel like an anime. We get some nice Batman action. He throws some batarangs, he knocks some dudes out, they're using guns and bullets holes are everywhere. I'm like, this is far more violent than I remember the show being as well. Like, people always have guns and stuff, but they typically just blow up before they even get a round off.
Yeah, I tried to look up if there was a big difference, and yeah, it's number one. I want to say that song you mentioned is sung by Tia Carrere. That really threw me off. Which is kind of wild. But yeah, the people do bleed, because I was like, do people bleed? Because the first guy bleeds very quickly, and then also, yeah, how much death? But it's like there are a lot of the kind of accidental deaths and stuff in the show, but a little less purposeful killing and a little less blood. Like there was not as much blood, so to have that guy bleed in the first sequence is pretty unusual.
I can't remember the name of all the mobsters. This guy's named like
Chucky Saul.
Chucky Saul.
Joey Bing Bong.
Yeah. Voiced by a character actor, Dick Miller. Rest in peace.
Yeah. Dick Miller.
Got a huge career behind him.
Yeah. He runs away into the parking garage, which is a classic horror movie setting, which this then kind of turns into a little miniature horror segment, which I think maybe is also one of the reasons that I'm like, I became a weird horror boy throughout my life, which I never thought about until this very moment.
I thought the Phantasm kind of reminded me of Mysterio a little bit. Like if Mysterio is like goth.
Smoke based bad guys.
Yeah. There's definitely a lot of magical shit going on with this character that is never explained, but I don't really mind. She seemingly can teleport like Jason Voorhees, like she turns into this. Bullets just go right through her. But yeah, she appears in a cloud of smoke and says like, Chucky Soul, your angel of death away. And he's like, what? You're not the bad. And she slices his gun in half, which is really cool and kind of violent. And then we get a cool little moment where he tries to run her over with a car, and she's like on the windshield smashing through it. And you're like, this is basically a horror movie again. I think that this entire sequence is like super exciting right out of the gate. And I don't know, how do you guys feel about it?
All the parts where you do see the Phantasm, the music is playing. What's that instrument? That's the
theremin.
Theremin, yeah. Which like it's definitely hitting 50s and 60s sci-fi horror themes. But a couple good things in the sequence. I think does a good job where it's doing a lot of good show and not tell. Where you mentioned slicing the gun in half, so that kind of sets like the threat level and the skill level of this individual that this is something very real, and it's able to cut through something like a gun very easily. But also in the fight sequence with Batman, it ends off with one of the mobsters being pinned to the table, but he's still not quite unconscious, and a casual kick on the table to knock him out, where it shows that like Batman's in control and he's calm and he's cool about it. And you see more payoff with that later with his learning curves in the flashbacks. So you see kind of a fully realized Batman. And this is kind of part of the open-endedness of this movie, where people can come approaching and seeing that like, okay, so this is a Batman at this point in his life as Batman. And I personally find like those kind of things right away in the movie is a good way to inform the audience without them even realizing they're being informed with just those visuals.
Sure. I was reading a little bit about the design of the character as well, and they'd gone through tons and tons of iterations of it before they landed on this. And I couldn't find any concept art of previous versions, but
I saw a few, and like they do get, some of them get a little wacky, where they were leaning on the Grim Reaper type look or the Ghost of Christmas Future look.
Yeah.
And there's no erotic Bruce Timm drawings of naked Phantasm tying up a woman or something. Okay.
It's a Grim Reaper in a bikini.
Google Bruce Timm erotic art and enjoy yourselves, folks. He's a real something.
Pervert. But yeah, the design is great. I think someone in the I didn't see who said it, but they said it reminds them of like a gothic Casey Jones, which it does. The mask
I see that.
Very Casey Jones.
The mask is definitely a Casey Jones. Like it's a hockey mask.
Yeah,
sort of.
Well, I do wonder
those cartoon hockey masks, the cartoon world one.
I do wonder if this was like a live action or a lengthier movie, if they would wait a little longer to reveal the design until like maybe midway through the movie and just have them sort of lurking in the shadows more, and really kind of pump up that horror element. But again, it's a kids movie, so maybe it would be a little bit too spooky to do that. But I mean, I'm all here for it. A Grim Reaper character coming out of fog and threateningly telling someone that their angel of death is coming. But yeah, the man, Saul, Chucky Soul, he loses control of his vehicle and crashes through the barrier, and then you realize that this parking garage is basically like a skyscraper as he flies through another building and dies. A bunch of people on ground level then see Batman examining the wreckage, and this is where the city believes that Batman caused the death of Chucky Soul. Yeah, Batman finds a little shard of glass on the ground from the windshield, and he goes, and then he gets Batmaned. He runs to try and catch up with the person, and the person's gone in a little spiral of cool smoke at the top of the staircase. And basically, Batman gets Batmaned by who other people think is Batman. I believe we then end up in the Bat Cave. I want to say we're in the Bat Cave, and he's analyzing the little chunk of glass as Alfred is like.
Well, actually, just before that, you are introduced to the city councilman, Arthur Reeves.
Yes.
As he's doing a press conference, and Commissioner Gordon and Detective Bullock are behind him, and he's trying to, we got to bring the Batman to justice. He's loose cannon. Another part where they do a lot of good animating acting is where he kind of points his thumb behind himself. He's where even some of the police think he's a menace, and you see Harvey Bullock hiding himself behind his coat, and Commissioner Gordon looking towards him with disdain, and just just a little quick emoting and performance there without them even saying anything. And then it kind of transitions into the Batcave where they're watching on the news where Alfred's chiding the whole broadcast.
Yeah, I do like also that guy is played by Hart Bochner, who's like mostly known as the coke snorting guy, the shitty boss in Die Hard, who essentially gets them all into trouble.
Sometimes you do get typecast as that kind of sleazebag.
Yeah. But he's great at it.
Oh, he's perfect in this.
I feel like a lot of I think in some ways it's like their casting was just character actors in LA, but I do think that they went a little. I mean, the show did too. It had wild voice casts, but it's fun how much they are doing this shorthand. Like all the gangsters are exploitation gangster movie guys. All all that stuff is very fun.
And we get a good line from Alfred where he's like, "There's so many crazies in this town, except for you, Master Bruce. Now I've ironed your tights and put away your gas balls." Or something.
Yeah, that's exactly what he says. Gas balls. and then later in the movie, they have another similar scene where Batman runs away like a petulant child. It's like, I don't want you to become like addicted to revenge like this Phantasm person. He's like, whatever, I'm going out to get revenge.
Yeah.
I'm going
out to get addicted to revenge.
Yeah. He's analyzing little glass shard from Chucky Saul's windshield. He says a bunch of scientific mumbo jumbo. I had to rewind to be like, is this important? But he's just like, it's like a molecular mineral.
And I guess it's the gas.
I don't know what it is.
I don't know what it is. It really isn't important.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I've seen this tons of times, but I've never really tried to pay attention to it that much because it's like not really. The story is more about like revenge and her taking revenge and him trying to figure out who's doing it and the backstory of it all.
The backstory,
But I do, again, I think if this was a 2.5 hour long Batman movie, like, would we go far more into like the weird stuff that she's able to do, and like he would have to break down the science of it all a little bit more thoroughly and do some more detective work other than putting a piece of glass into his bat computer and then like tasting the grass at the graveyard, being the same stuff from before.
I guess you have to find this comic book from 1994 probably, and to get some more.
There's also a comic sequel. I was gonna say to Travis with in Batman Beyond, where an older Andrea Beaumont returns.
Oh, interesting.
If you want to beyond it,
beyond Phantasm,
and it's also apparently a recent Tim King thing, is where she came into the real comics continuum
Hmm.
in his Batman Catwoman series.
I wonder, that's another thing. I wonder if this movie was more popular, if they would have, because Harley Quinn famously was invented by the show, and she's been trucking along for 35 years.
How many people want to fuck the Phantasm?
Well, once you find out the Phantasm's an attractive lady,
It's a babe.
Yeah, leave the mask on, sister.
Yeah.
But I kind of took. I mean, this is probably more me projecting onto the movie than anything else, because in something a little bit longer, they probably would have had like the whole breakdown of the chemicals for the fog as a means for Batman to find out how to like prevent her from teleporting around in a fight sequence, perhaps. But I also kind of took it as that this is somebody that has some skills that are not necessarily beyond Batman, but outside of his realm, even though there's a lot of mirroring going on between the two of them, but she's got tricks that he doesn't know about. And that the complexity of all this is still beyond him at this point.
Yeah, a lot of it seems like magic, right? Like maybe not literal magic, but like illusory magic, where like she might be like a stage magician using mirrors or some shit to like trick your eye.
All goes back to
using it to intimidate.
Mysterio powers. Speaking of Andrea Beaumont, we get a little snap of her on a plane where she's never quite shown, but she's clearly fawning over Bruce and talking to what's his name, Arthur
Reeves,
who's just being an absolute vain prick, like looking at himself in the mirror, being like, "So, are you still on for dinner?" Thinking of looking up any old friends. But she clearly still has feelings because she's like literally touching his face, the picture of his face on Billionaire magazine or whatever the fuck it is, Billionaire Weekly. And again, even the sky here is like blood red. It's just like the way they do the night sky all the time. It's like perpetually sunset or the middle of the night or a bright, beautiful day. Not really an in between. Sorry, I was getting a message. And then we get does it go into Bruce Wayne's party here where he's basically he's got a woman on each arm, they're both fawning over him, and then a third woman comes up and shows how ditzy these people are, which I'm like, what is going on? And she's like, what about the I word? Engagement. And when I was a kid, I thought this was Harley Quinn because she is drawn similarly shaped and voiced by the same voice actor, so I thought like this was Harley in disguise. Nope, just some lady.
Just a vapid dummy.
Yeah. I think one of the things that they did in this movie was purposely not have Harley Quinn in it because they didn't want to draw too many parallels to the show. And they even were apprehensive about having the Joker in it. I think there's different stories from different writers because this movie's written by like 8 different people. But some people say the Joker was always in it from the beginning, and others are like they were trying really hard to not have the Joker in it because it's not too far off from the Tim Burton movie that had just come out, and they didn't want to be, drawing too many comparisons to Jack Nicholson's Joker, even though that was years earlier. But there are a few moments in this that like are pretty reminiscent of some of the things that you see in that movie, like when Joker is introduced for the second time and he's like wearing the flat brim cap and like in silhouette. Very cool intro, but seems like they got over that fear pretty quickly. They're like, no, he's now a major part of the story, but not until partway through, which is wild as well because you don't really expect him there. And I wasn't that sharp of a 5-year-old when I saw this, but having him there all the time in the background, even though he's got all the sharp features and the pointy nose and everything, it's like, as a 5-year-old, I don't think I picked up on it right away. And like having him draw the smile on there was like a mind-blowing experience.
You're like, whoa. Oh my God, as an adult, you see that guy with the pointy nose and you're like, that's the Joker, clearly.
I do like that they didn't have him talk and like he's just in the background. He doesn't have a name or anything. And I do like that they didn't do anything too
like still as unsettling though.
Yeah.
And there's this madness brewing the whole time.
Yeah, it's like pre-accident Joker, and he still was kind of like maybe just a lower level enforcer, but still just as twisted and fucked because he's the one that kills her dad, right?
Yeah, I was gonna say he's not that low level because he's also like an international assassin.
Yeah,
he's going to Europe and icing, guys.
and does a little bit of detective work of his own in this movie.
I was gonna say, I think the thing that stands out to me, and even like the animated series definitely had touches of this, but it's cool that the Joker is very competent. Like he both in the investigative sense, and then just like, you know, it's clear the gangsters don't like him, but they are also like, you are the toughest, baddest, craziest gangster. So it's kind of interesting because he's not violent. He's not doing anything too nuts, but he seems much more in control, and like he's doing the gag stuff. But I guess more in the Jack Nicholson mold, where it's like
I was gonna say
just an evil gangster who is a little crazy.
This, even though it's animated like the it's animated like the animated series, this almost feels more in line with the '89 Batman as far as like the characterization of the Joker, which I appreciate, and I think that lends itself to what I was saying earlier about how this feels like its own self-contained story that fits more in line with a retelling of a comic book that exists already. And maybe that's kind of what their idea was, because if this had just come out straight to VHS, I think even in that vein, it just exists as its own thing. The TV show, as I recall, never referenced this story again. It doesn't need to be. It kind of stays self-contained. So I don't know. I think that this movie is very special in the same kind of way that the first Across the Spider-Verse is, you know.
Batman is at a party, and he
wait. Batman is Bruce Wayne.
My
nose. I thought I was watching two movies about two different guys.
3 women are in love with him, and then a 4th woman comes up, and we get a little bit of Bruce Wayne's Playboy history, and she's like, Bruce Wayne will make you think you're about to get married, and then all of a sudden he pieces out, and then she throws a drink in his face. Very full champagne flutes, I must say. And then Arthur Reeves comes up and is like, oh, no luck with the ladies again, eh, Bruce? You suck, bro. And then he brings up Andrea Beaumont, which we already know now that he's been talking to her the whole time. So Arthur is just a straight up douchebag who's trying to create a rift, or just try to maybe even like prep ammo for a later date, being like, now I'm with her, sucker, like I'm better than you, because he seems to have like such a massive ego that he even needs to one up the richest man in all of Gotham. If you can't hear, I live in Gotham. It's been a wild couple of years living here, I'll tell you.
I can see the bat signal.
Yeah. Don't give into your thirst for vengeance, dude.
I'm pretty good at making riddles, though. I will say that much.
And just don't walk your parents down crime alley.
Two parts about that sequence with Arthur Reed, though, is one, Arthur Reed mentions it's almost like you choose him because it won't, you know it won't work, and it's like, that's actually it. It went over your head, Arthur, but that's what he's doing, is that he's put up a smoke screen in his bachelor life. And then right after, because Arthur Reed gives him the handkerchief to wipe off the champagne off his face. Yeah. And this is where we sneak in a little adult moment in this movie where Bruce Wayne tells him,
I think Killer Croc is on the loose over here again.
Yeah, apparently. You do live next to Toronto's Arkham Asylum.
That's true.
Oh my goodness. Boy, oh boy. Bruce Wayne tells Arthur, after he gives him that little comment about Andrea Beaumont, thanks for the handkerchief. You know where you can stick it, and shoves it into his pocket.
You know where you can stick it, Arthur.
Wait a minute.
All right, I have to go cry for a minute. Dum bum bum bum. The song. Bum 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 bum. He looks at a portrait of his parents in his private office, because this party is being held at Wayne Manor, and he has a memory of him at his parents' grave, where he meets Andrea Beaumont for the first time, brought on, I assume, by his conversation with Reeves. And he sees her seemingly speaking to no one. It turns out she's speaking to her dead mother at her grave. And there's sort of like a meet cute moment where he's like, I also do that. What do you say?
This part drives me nuts, because it's like, it's because he gets into like, oh, up, wait, Did you just like he does it like 3 times, but it's like one time you're like, oh, sorry, I thought you were talking to me. But you can't come back and be like, wait, but I heard my name, so you certainly you're talking to me. It's like, no, you fucking idiot.
Bruce
Also,
Wayne
you're in a
sees-
graveyard. You don't just approach people. Everyone else in the graveyard is like, oh, this fucking guy. We gotta get out of here.
Every time he's here, he tries to talk to us.
Every time
He's
he's
always
crying
here,
in the
too.
rain. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's always promising
Talking to him.
vengeance.
Yeah.
Asking people if they're talking about him.
Yeah.
He keeps asking his parents' grave if he can put down the cowl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know what that means.
Monologuing for hours about what it means to be a man.
It is crazy that he goes back more than once and still doesn't get the point, and then admits that he also talks to his parents' grave, and it's like, bro. Also, his
Yeah, when
eyes-
she's like, I can hear as though she's answering me. I'm like, wait, Batman does that with his mask, like the Green Goblin a little bit.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
well, he literally admits that he does it to his parents' grave as well, which is like,
Yeah.
he's like, oh, I didn't know you were talking to a grave. And then she's like, well, what? You don't do that? He's like, no, I do. It's like, well, I actually think it's weird if I do it. And she's like, what did you do? What do you talk to your parents about? And he's like, I made a promise. And she's like, what was the promise? He's like, it's a secret promise, and I'll
secret
never tell
promise.
you. This guy's such a dork.
And then later
It's
she immediately knows. She immediately knows it's Bruce.
Yeah, I do like
Just
that.
tell by
But
his
this
chin,
is
I
like-
assume.
yeah.
Mhm.
This is a good question because I like the Val Kilmer, but I always thought that Batman and Robin, what's his face? Help me
George
out.
Clooney?
George Clooney
Oh.
was more the animated. Looked to me when I was growing up like what the animated series Batman looked like.
I think weirdly, I mean, it's a very different character because it's more like Dark Knight Returns, but I think that Affleck kind of looks like the animated
Yeah.
series.
Yeah,
one.
possibly.
That's pretty good.
I hold this particular depiction of Batman on a very high pedestal. So anything I would have to say would not be really fair to any physically existing person.
Mhm.
Literally just Kevin Conroy.
Yeah, rest in peace. What a tremendous
Even
talent he
Kevin
was.
Conroy, like you see him, he doesn't look anything
No,
like Batman. He's
he
like
looks
a
like
big
Lyle
dog.
Lovett in real
Yeah.
life. I think that's part of why I do like this depiction of Batman is because it is larger than life, and it suits what kind of lives in all our minds when we try to imagine Batman. Even though we kind of imagine a different thing, those different perspectives are kind of facing towards this hyper realized version.
Yeah, and I mean, it is sort of semi based off of comic books up to this point, but it was its own unique thing. And then after this, even in the Arkham Asylum video games, like they're clearly using this as a model, but trying to make it look more or less like a realistic human being, but also obviously super stylized.
Yeah.
Because you look at it and it's like, this man does not exist. Like,
Mhm.
and if he does, he's like a bodybuilder with a weird voice from a other country, you know? Like,
Oh yeah, like for sure, this is modern mythology. Yeah.
yes.
There's the Telltale Batman too, which has a little bit of the animated series.
Oh, I
Um,
squished something.
Oh my
Which has a
god.
little bit of the animated
gas
series
balls?
to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I forgot to put my gas balls away.
You sit on your balls on every episode, I swear.
Yeah, I don't know.
What is it? Mr. Belvedere? Is he the guy that sat on his balls?
Mr. Belvedere?
Yeah. You need to have a sound drop. Steve sat on his balls.
Dun, 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 dun.
Yeah. Now it's time for Steve to sit on his balls.
I started making into a sound.
I was trying to poke around, and apparently, a lot of I don't see it. People said that the animated one is based on Gregory Peck, kind of. I don't think it's true.
Interesting.
Doesn't really look like it. He looks kind of like Year One, but not the animated series. I don't think.
Yeah, I mean, there's like we were talking about this during our Titanic episode, where it's like there are some actors that are too handsome to be leading. Like we were talking about Jude Law and like even Leonardo DiCaprio for a while, where it's like he was like too pretty or too handsome, and they had to age into their looks a little bit too. Like Jude Law had to lose a little bit of the hairline and gain some wrinkles for it to be like. Now he's like realistically, he was too hot before. It was hard to look at him. Like it burned your eyes, like looking into the sun. Okay, yeah.
Gregory
See the jawline a bit.
Also, people do. I did look up. There are old photos of Kevin Conroy that he looks surprisingly like it when he was quite young.
When he was young,
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really have one. I always like when they cast Ben Affleck, I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Like he just has the chin and stuff. And it does make sense, but I can't.
Each have one take, yeah.
And I mean, that was like I think it's Burton who said it was just like it's all about the chin, and I think he said Michael Keaton's eyes too. Right. Like he said that the Bruce Wayne almost didn't matter. It was all about how you could work that cowl.
Who's that guy from Mindhunter? He was in the Iron Claw. He played the dad in Iron Claw. He was also in, I think, one of the Justice League movies.
Sure, yeah.
That guy.
He's got
like
a big square jaw.
Yeah, he's a box man. Maybe when he was younger, he would have been a good Batman.
Hear me out, Ray Liotta.
Oh yeah,
sure. That was one of them, right? That he was what Tim Burton wanted, I think. And he wasn't famous
Ray
enough.
Liotta as Batman, but like
like a coked out Ray Liotta character as Batman. Yeah.
I believe I believe it was the actor you're thinking of is Holt McElhaney. But yeah, I believe the original Burton, his like dream cast was Ray Liotta, Batman, John Lithgow, Joker. And Liotta wasn't famous enough, and Lithgow said no.
Lithgow's the Joker would be crazy.
Yeah.
And now he's Dumbledore, selling out for that turf money.
Yeah.
I also think weirdly Holt McElhaney young was kind of a more lithe guy. He really became that beef
box
man as he got older,
right?
Because he's in Fight Club and stuff. He's in all of the Fincher.
Oh yeah.
As Travis said, he said he's in Alien 3.
Right. He plays one of the dirt bags on Prison Planet.
Remember when it was supposed to be a wooden planet? I still think that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Nobody makes a planet out of wood these days.
What happened to all the wood planets out there? So he walks her to her car. She's asks, like, why do you do it? What do you do? And he was like, why do you want to know? And she's like, well, mom was asking. And so there's like this sort of like, she's hitting him with intrigue and he's already intriguing to her. So they're both a mystery to each other, which is kind of fun and cool and sets everything up going forward. But then we also cut immediately to him swinging around on ropes. We don't know how it works. He doesn't have a grappling hook yet. He must just have a series of ropes set up around the city for this exact purpose. Who knows? But he goes in with basically just black clothes and a ski mask and tries to stop some sort of robbery. They're stealing unmarked crates. Who knows what's in them? All we know is that they're criminals. And he tries to get them to stop, but they are not intimidated by him in any capacity.
You heard Mr. Kung Fu.
Yeah. I think criminals would be intimidated by a guy just fucking kung fuing.
They call him Mr. Kung Fu. They're like, who's this clown? Yeah, on our stomachs? Oh, yeah, with our asses in the air, right? You fucking Daisy Doodle. And they try and shoot at him, but he pulls out throwing stars.
Yeah.
Immediately disarms them.
The amount of money I would pay to hear Daisy Doodle in this movie.
just quickly before we move on too far from what we were just talking about, but I got Kevin Conroy young.
Yeah. There he is. Rest in peace.
And I got youngish, probably 90s Holt McElhaney.
Oh yeah.
So I see it. I see all these men. But yeah, sorry, Steve, I didn't mean to cut you off.
He beats them up.
Hunks with square jaws.
Yeah, punks with square jaws. He beats all of them up pretty badly, and then one of them pulls out a shotgun and starts blasting. And as Tim was saying before, like he hasn't taken up the Batman persona yet or the cowl, but he literally doesn't even have the persona whatsoever. When he pulls that security guard, he goes like, "Excuse me." He's trying to be almost like Han Solo-y or whatever, where it's like, I'm a cool guy and I'm stopping crimes. He doesn't have that dark edge to him yet, where he's stoic and always grumbling and growling. Which is kind of a nice contrast as the movie goes. But he then tries to chase after the truck, grabs onto the door, and we have not really a chase. It's just him on the back of a truck for a long time, holding on for dear life. And then he becomes Hammer Man, and he climbs up on top of I think at this point he's just Man, and then he climbs on top, pulls up the hammer, and he becomes Hammer Man.
With all the strengths and powers of a man in the body of a man.
Yeah, he's a man.
I thought there were parallels here to the old like 1940s Batman who used a gun is what this version of like Batman Year One reminded me of. I'm surprised he didn't just pull a gun out and accidentally kill somebody, and that's why he doesn't use guns. But then the Phantasm kind of reminds me of that that hero that Batman looked up to as a kid, who kind of just is Batman, the gray ghost.
Yeah.
So I thought that
Same color scheme.
I thought they were maybe doing some stuff with that here, but they couldn't do the gun thing. I thought that would be a cool origin story for Batman, where he goes out with a gun like he did in those old serials, and then he accidentally kills somebody with a gun and swears never to use a gun again.
Yeah, but I mean,
he just cripples them.
This isn't really that story though, right? The story is is more so about him grappling with the idea of putting down the cowl because of love. This is just in here to be like, we need a cool action set piece, and it is cool. It's cool seeing him in just, you know, a leather jacket and black pants and a ski mask, just punching the shit out of people, and still has gadgets, except he has a hammer. It's crazy that he has a hammer, right? Like,
yeah, I kind of assume he got the hammer from the truck. And not that this is it would be awesome if his rudimentary tool belt had a fucking hammer.
Well, his batarangs were just like weird throwing
stars.
Yeah.
But those look like more professional than batarangs. It's like unbranded.
Yeah, the hammer he has later on is shaped like a bat. You know.
Yeah,
bad hammer.
Does the wing go forward like this, or does it go sideways? That's, you know.
No, the R&D on it's just awful.
Yeah, now I want to see if there's a bad hammer. He's got all this stuff. He's got shark repellent. Of course, he's got bad hammer.
Yeah. He also has caltrops, which is how he stops the.
Oh my god, I forgot the dumb, the dumb absolute Batman has a giant hammer.
All right.
Oh yeah,
and he does have a logo hammer. It looks like a big shovel.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't read the comic. I hear it's good. Not for me.
Yeah,
I don't need my guys more extreme.
Yeah, Ultimate? Like
no, thank you. No, thank you.
Too extreme.
The Riddler in that is funny though. He downloaded a computer to his brain or something.
You wouldn't download a Riddler.
Catwoman just looks the same, which everybody's mad about. They're like, why doesn't she look different? It's like, nah, she's just the same Catwoman as we always knew.
I clicked on the wrong thing. A dome? Oh, now I want to see. Catwoman's got a
dome on her head. Yeah, I think she wears like a weird metal helmet.
I clicked something once, and now every time there's a new character, it's like, you won't believe this twisted side. Okay.
Killer Croc looks like a croc with a million teeth.
Robin is
the Joker is actually a turbo demon.
Yeah, the turbo demon Joker is like, fair enough. That's different. Poison Ivy being like sort of freaky is like, okay, all right, great. Robin's a mech, like, but at the same time, I hear it's good. 5 stars.
Yeah,
not for me, maybe.
Oh yeah,
I like the designs. I've seen all the designs; they look cool. But yeah, I haven't read it. He knocks over the truck, and the truck crashes, and he gets on top, and he hides from the cops, and he's like, sick. Like, he's actually quite pleased with himself. Like, I created a lot of property damage, but I stopped those crates that all smashed from getting stolen. I don't think he stopped any crime from happening that night. He did beat a bunch of guys up though, and they'll probably think twice about stealing a bunch of, I don't know, t-shirts or whatever was in those boxes.
And I like the like that the police don't really know. Is it a crime that the man is on the truck or the what?
Yeah, I mean, it seemed like they thought that maybe he was the criminal, but then they're like, why won't this guy pull over?
Yeah.
And then it cuts to Batman training. Is it judo? He's like jiu-jitsu, and he's training on the lawn, and he's really hyped about his night beating people up. And Alfred's like, are you sure you don't want to take a polo or something, Master Wayne? This seems really fucking dangerous what you're doing. It's like, no, I liked it. But there's only one problem. They weren't terrified of me. I need to strike fear into people immediately. So he's toying with the idea of somehow making himself more intimidating, which it seems like he's dressed up like what he would be scared of, which is like a guy in a ski mask, which, you know, I guess, I don't know. You'd think that he'd be scared of the guy who shot his parents to death, right? He would probably dress up like that. But
He just has a face on his face.
yeah,
I'm
One
face.
I mean,
you're-
face.
You're Two-Face? That's weird. Yeah.
no face, not Two-Face. That's a different guy.
It's a convoluted mess.
No relation. Some relation. You have to read 19 comics to really understand.
Yeah,
course.
that's why he's called Face. It all makes sense now. While he's shadowboxing the grass, Beaumont shows up, and she's being cheeky with him, and she's like, it's been 3 days since we met, and you never called me. And he's like, well, what do you expect everybody to call you? And he's like, what's the matter? She says some good lines here. I think she says, what happened to your wrist? What did you do? Trip on some loose cash? Which is a pretty good diss for a billionaire. But yeah, it's just like cute banter. Alfred leaves, and then she shows that she's also trained in martial arts and to some capacity. She says it's like Mrs. Hoagie's self-defense for women or something.
Steve, do you think that if you saw this like blind now, you would immediately know the twist? Like, do you think you would have figured it out?
Yeah, probably.
I feel like they
this
do
is
a
one
good
of those-
job. They do quite a good job of like 3/4 through. You think her dad is alive. Like, I think
Yeah.
that's the thing. Is pretty quick. You clock that it's her dad, and
Yeah.
only when they reveal her dad is dead are you like, oh, because it's also he has Stacy Keach's voice.
Yeah, I
which
was
is
just
pretty
gonna,
good
Yeah.
I was going to
trick.
say pretty well the two red herrings in this movie is one, Stacy Keach's voice, and two, the fact that she's supposedly calling from an airplane while talking to Arthur Reeves after Chucky Saul died. So that's the only two red herrings the movie offers you to kind of mislead you.
Yeah, wait a minute. Did she set up like a fake set of an airplane? Like we see her on the airplane.
No, it's just
What
her
the
like
hell?
next to a fan as she's talking. Like, it's a really loud
Yeah.
plane.
Wow, sorry.
Yeah.
I'm coming from unknown Europe.
Yes.
She's in her living room with another chair in front of her that has a flap in the back for magazines to go inside of. Yes. Okay. I never considered that fact. I feel it would be it's hard to say because I saw this when I was 5 and I've seen it a million times since. So I sometimes even forget that that's even a conceit of the movie is that he's meant to be thought of as the villain. But yeah, you don't even reveal that he's dead until after you find out that she's the Phantasm as well, right? So it is pretty well constructed in terms of like trying to not give it away. So I don't know, Jason. I can't answer that question. Go back in
Also,
time.
Yeah. I would have been a child, so probably I wouldn't.
Go back in time and
I probably
stop
would
you
have
from
been
watching this
confused.
several times throughout the years.
As a
until you're
5-year-old,
just at that age.
As a 5-year-old, I probably didn't even get that some of these were supposed to be flashbacks. I was probably just like, "What's happening?"
There's
Whoa,
actually,
Batman.
to go back to a production thing, there was a very funny story where they demanded, they were like, this is going to confuse kids. You got to make it go in chronological order. And they're like, that's going to be nuts. And apparently they did it. They did the full edit and showed them. And the executives were like, yeah, sorry, that's nuts. Never mind. Like,
Yeah, that's
they all
terrible.
agreed like, woof. Yeah, that's awful.
That's terrible with
make it-
people with a brain. That might work
Yeah.
for kids.
Yeah.
But,
But
Yeah.
also
if
it's like,
you're
I
trying
just
to watch
don't,
this.
there's huge gaps. Like it isn't really chronological,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Coming off the heels of Advent Children, where that is a flash forward, flashback nightmare.
Yeah.
As far as structure goes, not that it's difficult to parse necessarily, but compared to this, like this movie, the flash forwards or the flashbacks are much more concise, and they're also cushioned well with like the house party and so forth. That it's all relevant to as things are being revealed. So it's like it's giving you information as it's becoming relevant, which is like the
Well,
idea of a flashback.
He goes into that back room and he's looking at that painting, and most of the like back story happens while he's just in that room, and then the story continues, and we get a bit more of the flashback stuff, but it's from the woman's Andrea, is that her name?
Yeah.
From her kind of point of view as a flashback. So
I think there's just the one. There's just the one because so there's just the one of her perspective, and that's when she's telling like after she rescues him, she's like, "This is what happened," and then she basically tells him most of the truth, but like not enough for it to be full truth. But yeah,
And my dad, who's definitely alive.
he's alive. I talked to
Oh,
him this morning.
please ask no
I talk
follow-up
to him all
questions
the
about my
time.
father. Yeah.
I just happen to be standing near a gravestone while I'm doing it.
But they also do like the stone in a pond waving screen stuff to be like, it's the past.
Yeah, they definitely told it as like a 1940s, 1950s film. Yeah.
Yeah, and it works. Like even within this sequence where when he knocks her to the ground and pins her, and they're giggling or whatever, they do that sort of like Captain Kirk lighting on her eyes. Like, yeah. Like, she says like, "Do fries come without a shake" or something, and then they kiss. I can't remember.
Because it's very noir. Like this one, Batman's usually a noir, but this movie is a noir in the way that it's sort of set up. So you have to have those
absolutely. Everything about it, like even everything from the Art Deco design to even them like artificially creating lighting to look like something from a noir film, which is really cool.
And they got all those phantasms in noir.
Yeah, exactly. Every noir movie has a phantasm. It was huge in the 40s. And then another fun trope of this movie is every time they start kissing, Alfred walks in with tea and he goes, "Oh," like turns around and leaves. It happens more than once in this movie.
It turns out every room in the mansion has somebody making out in there. He keeps on having to back out with a tray full of food.
Yeah, every time. And he always goes like, "Not on the lawn, Master Wayne." He's like, "Not on the rug, Master Wayne.
I have to clean that up, Master Wayne."
Yeah.
There is that funny scene where they clearly they don't show them kiss, but they go to kiss, and then it pans up to just like curtains flapping for what felt like 30 straight seconds. And then
it shows them kiss a lot. That's when Alfred comes in. He goes, that's gotta go. I think the phone is ringing.
I have to go find more cootie shots.
Oh my God, Master Wayne's going to need a big cootie shot after that one. So they kiss. Then I think that's when the flashback ends. Yeah, because then we get to the graveyard, which Buzz Bronsky, whatever his name is, your angel of death awaits. He's a gangster. He drives up into the graveyard. It's now fall. Like it's funny because like the seasons seem to be changing quite a bit in this movie as well, depending on what tone they want. But he goes to pay his respects to Chucky, and he was like, "You always were a loser, Chucky." And he gets chased around the graveyard by the Grim Reaper. This is where like another example of cool, weird effect that this character can do, but also just a testament to the sweet animation style when he comes at her with like a pickaxe. He cuts it spins smoking, and then he tries to whip the handle through. And they could have just had it go into the mist, but she does this thing where she like lifts her arms up and then it goes through her, and then as the mist clears, her arms are back down again. And they're just, I remember as a kid being like, that's so scary. And like, even now I'm like, it is pretty intimidating. Like it's an intimidating move. It's also something that I wouldn't think to do as an animator. Like what's a cool thing for them to do? And then you think about it, it's like they just put their arms in the air. That's kind of lame. But then you look at it and you're like, oh no, it's good works. Like it looks good. Also, it just going through like a javelin is very satisfying, and the sound design and everything, like it's very good. But the most satisfying part of the movie maybe is him falling into a grave and then her being like, "You always were a loser, Mr. Bronsky," and then crushing him with a giant stone angel. His angel of death literally was waiting.
I do like that his goons come by later and go, "Oh, yeah," like they're like, "We goofed it.
Yikes!" Yeah,
our boss got squished.
That's how this movie handles death for the most part, where like when Chucky Saul dies, you just hear the car horn with like his now lifeless body resting on it, but all you know about that is just from the sound. And same with the guys going like, "Ooh, ooh." Like having that kind of reaction is a good way of letting us know without literally showing us like a gooped up guy in the grave.
Yeah. And it's like even through dialogue and things, but yeah, reactions, sound effects, and not to get too ahead of ourselves, but like when your image in the background there, when that he's literally got a bunch of dynamite all over his chest, and the Joker says like, soon his face will be all over Gotham, not to mention his legs and his feet and his spleen and his head. And then like a huge explosion. And you're like, that doesn't happen to the intended target, but it definitely happened to that guy. But yeah, I do also like that, like they must have heard from the other gangsters who survived the Batman encounter with Chucky Saul. Yeah, the Bat came in and he beat the shit out of all of us, and then he threw Chucky across a gap and he died. And so these guys just see the phantasm in the distance, and their immediate thought isn't like, oh, it's some sort of phantasm. They're like, no, it's the Bat. He's here. He's killing people. This is some sort of vendetta. Again, it's also funny because like every time somebody sees the phantasm leaving the crime scene, they're just sort of like standing there or moving very slowly. And then they just quickly like disappear into the distance, and here they start shooting, and it's like slow moving, and then gotta go. Again, don't know how the physics of her getting away works, but who gives a shit, right? Jason Voorhees powers, Mysterio powers. She's got magic.
Yeah. She goes to where she's gonna like kill them and sets up all these mirrors and like ridiculous, elaborate carnival like magic situations.
Well, that's another thing that I like about this movie as well, is that like the Joker he's hanging out in future world, but like he's also got it rigged with tons and tons and tons of explosives, and it's like he didn't do that for this specific reason. He probably just did that because he's like, one day I'll lure the Bat here and it'll be fun. We'll fuck shit up.
He's going through his bombs era where he just wanted to.
Yeah, he's like, if I don't use this dynamite, they won't give me enough money for dynamite next year. So he's
Dynamite budget.
He's got to make sure that he doesn't have an influx.
If you don't,
are you telling me that the Joker has like a board of directors he answers to?
Probably,
yeah. One of them's Chucky Saul. That's been Bronsky.
Yeah. He has a surplus of dynamite money. He's got to get rid of it. So after this, I think we're introduced to what's his name, Salvador Varenza or something like that, or Sale, Valestra, and he's reading his paper with his morning tea. He looks like he's aged 900 years since the time that you see him in the flashback, which happens in a little bit. But he's definitely been hit with some sort of smoking induced terminal illness, where even just bad news in the newspaper can cause him to have some sort of hyperventilation, and he's having
like an asthmatic attack.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, Abe Vigoda knows how to make it sound like a nasty cough.
Yeah, I mean, it might have been happenstance that they got that breathing recording in. They just said, let's write this into the movie.
Yeah.
Abe Vigoda was also in his 80s and the 90s, so
yeah. Also like,
I think he was. The weird thing is Abe Vigoda lived till almost 2020. I feel like the joke was always that he was this dying old man, but he was probably like 50.
Yeah. There was that one website that was in kind of poor taste where it was just, is Abe Vigoda still alive? And then you would go to the website and it would say yes or no.
Yeah.
Until one day, just no.
Yeah. Yeah, the man lived till 2016.
There's one for a wrestler. There was a wrestler in the 90s named Test, and when he passed away, somebody made a Twitter that is Test still dead, which I think is the poorest taste of them all.
Sure.
And in the darkness bind them. So he has a freak out because he sees that everybody's like, what is the newspaper heading is something like, has the Bat gone bats? Or something
Bats gone bats. I noticed that as well.
Yeah.
It's like a Simpsons newspaper headline.
Yeah. The funny thing is like a lot of the animators for this show and maybe even this movie probably worked on The Simpsons because they're all like Fox productions, right? Like there's a good chance that there's some crossover. So he has his freak out, and then I think it's a Commissioner Gordon sequence where he's like, I'm telling you, the Bat didn't do this. The Batman doesn't kill, he never will, he never has, and he's not gonna. So get the fuck out of my office. And this is the last time I think you see Commissioner Gordon for the rest of the movie. He's like, I'm not gonna be any part of this.
I think he's in 2 scenes in the whole movie, which is crazy because usually Commissioner Gordon is all over a Batman thing.
Yeah. I guess this was
actually a movie.
This was one way to kind of like, well, what about, a staple character like Commissioner Gordon? So they had to kind of write that out. I'm surprised they didn't even have like, and Dick Grayson is away on vacation or whatever. They didn't have like a throwaway line like that.
You don't need it, right? Like that's
like this whole movie. It's all very open ended, so it leaves it very flexible for them to tell their story, but also for the, as you were mentioning before, for the audience, it's accessible that you can just get in and watch it, and you don't have to worry about these details. You don't have to worry about where the Phantasm teleports to.
It's also from an era where pre-internet, where people aren't just like endlessly talking about it and pining over the minutia of all of it, all the little details and all that stuff. So you don't have to explain things away like that, like you do now. If you made this movie now, you would have to tie it into Batman Beyond and the animated series, and you know what I mean? Like you'd have to have all these connecting pieces. And I think this movie is just from a different era, and that's it worked. It worked in its favor.
Yeah, it's part of the charm for sure.
It's one of the reasons I can't stand a lot of fandoms these days. Where it's like, where was Ahsoka during Return of the Jedi? It's like not invented yet.
I saw a good meme because they were like, Mon Mothma is going to appear in Ahsoka, and there was a screenshot of it being like, oh, by the way, Ahsoka, I've had 16 concussions since the events of Andor.
Yeah. We were joking last week with Titanic that Titanic will return in Doomsday.
Oh my god! Let me say, if you guys ever want a good gimme episode, there's a dumb movie called Titanic 2000 that's about they make a new Titanic, and it's just like a sleazy softcore weird.
I think we talked about this during the podcast last week.
I think there might be vampires. It's good.
Titanic 2, Titanic 666, Titanic 2000,
Titanic cartoon. Yeah, Titanic 2000 though is legitimately like worth a watch.
Fun. So Commissioner Gordon is he washes his hands of the whole situation, but Arthur Reeves is now stepping up as a city councilman to be like, we need to bring the Bat to justice. And he's like, so what are we gonna do, fellas? And then it cuts to him like putting minty breath spray in his mouth for some reason. Like, is he gonna make out with Batman? Like, maybe he just wants to kiss Batman. And then I think it shows them on the roof using the bat signal to try and bring Batman to the police station. And it's Bullock, the councilman, and a couple of other just random police officers. But Gordon is not there. I think there might be an implication there that Batman is aware. It's like they think I did this, so I should probably steer clear. And Jim will know that I have nothing to do with this. So I don't have to worry about that. But there might be others that are trying to arrest me. So I'm going to need to solve this on my own. Which, by the way, is not an unresolved issue of this movie, is that this whole movie, they think Batman killed all these people, and there's never a moment where it's like Batman cleared of all suspicion. But, again, we don't need it. But it's like sort of the horror movie ending where it's like, what happens to all these people when all the bodies are discovered? And they're like, a ghost killed my husband. Like, a ghost.
But the Batman is kind of like a ghost. Did the Batman do it? And then
the Batman kill your husband?
Kind of have to discover their, discuss the implications of that. But then, no, they just kind of end this movie where it ends, and Batman goes off to find another mission.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's the kind of Batman Spider-Man thing, right? Of he's always kind of in the shit list.
Yeah, it's another day ending in Y. Yeah.
Yeah. How many times do they smash the fucking bat signal, and then by the end of it, the bat signal's back?
They have a tarp reveal. It's the new bat signal.
Yeah. Yes.
With this new logo for the next movie.
Yeah.
Commissioner, I redesigned my bat chest. Let's get the sledgehammer.
The bat sledgehammer.
Wait till you see absolute bat signal.
It's just two bat signals.
Yeah.
It's like a laser.
Like a guy crucified on the side. Oh no, there's a whole article called Absolute Batman just introduced a new bat signal and it's perfect.
It's gonna be a laser that destroys things, I bet.
Sure.
Death Star. And then we have a little bit more investigation, but again, this is sort of like throwaway. Like, yeah, we have to show him doing some detective stuff. So he's just like fingering some grass and being like, "It's the same residue from the glass that I found." And then he's like, "Someone's talking in the graveyard," and of course he has to go investigate. Like, this is stupid Bruce Wayne being like, "Who could possibly be talking in the graveyard at this hour?"
He first stops by his parents' grave because he's in the neighborhood.
Yes, but instead of hiding like he should, because he's fucking Batman, dressed as Batman, he decides to poke his head out like, "Oh, who's there?" And it's Andrea Beaumont, and she sees him, and she's like, "Oh, it's you!" And then he runs away, and this is where her detective work comes into play, where she's like, "Oh man, he's standing next to Bruce Wayne's grave, parents' grave. It must be Bruce. It has to be Bruce."
Yeah, she took
Bruce.
She took a couple of genius pills that morning and like, yep, that's him.
I mean, it doesn't bother me, but it's one of those things where I'm like, okay,
it's very simple for
it's a pretty huge leap to make.
Yeah,
but she like knew him, right? Like I find that, you know,
he's also terrible at like when somebody's like, "You're Bruce Wayne," he's like, "Yeah, you got me." You're not even gonna try. You don't even have a. Yeah.
I think you can imagine what the absolute bat signal looks like, but it's so much worse than what I was expecting. Brace yourself.
I mean, it's fine.
Brace yourselves. I thought I had to look to see if it was an April Fool's joke.
Yeah, well, no.
Oh my god!
Is that from Adventure Time?
Again, in context, maybe this is the best thing we've ever seen, but
yeah.
I'm sorry to be dunking on absolute things all the time.
Because he's 9 feet. He's like legit 8 feet tall, and that's the symbol on his chest.
It's almost just a ring.
Yeah.
Oh, the bat ring.
Batman let himself go, and now he's Fat Man.
Yeah, it's a choice, but whatever.
It's a choice, yeah.
That's funny.
Where is she?
So she figures out that it's Batman because he's standing there, and then I think it cuts to them. This is the dinner sequence, right, where she's having dinner with Reeves, and Batman is spying on their dinner, which is maybe unethical. Batman, you shouldn't use your detective powers to spy on your ex-girlfriend. It's kind of creepy.
Stalker.
I know there's been like deliberation about this sequence where like it really focuses on his face before he looks at the two of them holding hands, and there's just rain going down his face, and people are like, "Rain or tears?"
Or
like,
tears. Is he crying?
Probably tears, I guess.
Is he wetting his pants? And how big is his hog right now?
Oh my god!
Because we were talking about Kevin Smith earlier,
right? Okay. But this is also where we're first introduced to the fact that this guy had some sort of close relationship with her father, which we don't really know any of this stuff yet, but we'll get a little bit more into it in the next sequence where we have, as it shows their hands, we go into another flashback, and this is where we get a little montage of them at the future world fair or whatever. It's like, this is
just before we get into that, Steve, I have to say really quickly, your Phantasm background, the way it looks like you have a giant gamer chair.
Oh, true.
It's like the Emperor's throne in Jedi.
Computer, tell me what's on this glass shard. Oh, it's more cum. Why is it
do to make Batman gay and horny?
More.
Always cum.
I did have a gay and horny background as well. Wow. Bruce Timm's artwork.
Oh my god.
Boy, oh boy.
They had tongues out.
Mm-hmm.
That's for the dads.
Suns out, tongues out. So they go to the World's Fair and they have a nice day, but then of course Bruce Wayne gets fucking distracted by the Batmobile. It doesn't even look different than the Batmobile at all.
No,
like
it's a paint job,
exactly like his Batmobile.
Yeah, it's just purple,
except it's like red, like a mahogany version. And he's like, "Wow, they're gonna make the entire car out of wood in the future." Like, Bruce, no. And it's the precursor to Alien 3.
Yep.
First, they made all the cars out of wood, and then they started making planets out of wood. So this is like pretty decent symbolism at work here, which you don't get into it until later, but this is like they're in the romance phase, like the honeymoon phase of their relationship, where they can't imagine that they've never been together before, and they can't imagine what life will be like without each other, and they envision their life together at a place that is meant to embody the future, which is pretty cool. But this location keeps coming up throughout the movie. It's really strong. It's really surface level, and it's really obvious. It's not like a deep thinking man's like, wow. It's just straight up symbolism. But again, the movie's designed for children, but it's also super effective. Like I really like it.
Yes,
I like that they create this interesting environment and bring you back to it more than once. Once showing you it as this beautiful sort of enthusiastic vision of the future, and then the next time we see it, it's like horribly dilapidated, even though it can't even be that long ago, right? But
it's made into a grim parody of what they were hoping for.
Also, the Joker is living there like a fucking evil, twisted parasite, like infecting it from within. Yeah. And then, of course, we like have them have their final standoff there, the absolute collapse of their relationship with the entirety of the place being destroyed, the future itself being obliterated. It's cool. It's like a good, effective thing. Again, like when I said, like when I was a little kid and I didn't fully understand like the magic of storytelling and the importance of like these types of things in movies, like this kind of shit is set. It helps you learn, right? Like as a young person absorbing stories, this is like an example of something that was like very valuable to me as a child, for somebody who would go on to like fancy themselves a storyteller as well, I fucking love it. Even though it's super simple and kind of dumb, I fucking love it. The future fair that it gets blown up and horribly just like nastified by an evil villain is very cool.
Yeah. There's that part where like he just the guy goes in to meet the Joker and he just blows up all those future fair.
The greeting robots.
He shoots them in the head with a Tommy.
Oh, he shot them in the head. Okay, I thought he blew them up.
Which is even funnier than blowing them up, because he's like, I always hated that song when he's like throws away like a smoking Tommy gun after just obliterating them. Which is like, it's another thing, is the Joker lives there, so he's probably heard that happen over and over and over again, and he was just waiting for an audience to do that. Like, as soon as someone else is here, I'm gonna shoot these fucking things in the head.
I found the Joker extremely funny in this. I actually laughed out loud a couple times at him.
He's very good.
Jokerness.
Actually, I was I don't want to get too far into it because we're going to talk about it when we get to it, but I was reading that they were apprehensive about having the Joker, but then as they started to think about it, they're like, no, he so organically fits into this story and would be perfect for this sort of moment. And then they realized, like, think of all the stuff we can do with the budget we have here for the animation. Like, we can make him almost like a Bugs Bunny style character, but to like a weird realistic level where you can imagine this working if it's someone like Jim Carrey. But then, like have all these really quick, flashy moments where he's like shoving people, but also moving around quickly and like boing, like having the sound effects and stuff. It's like, it all works so well. He's basically a cartoon character to the level of, absurdity, whereas everyone else is like more so grounded. It's fucking good, man. It's really good. At the end of the World's Fair, she's like, so I've been wanting to introduce you to my daddy. And he's like, well, I can meet your daddy. And she's like, okay, I'll call my daddy right now. And then she does. And she's like, are you sure you want to meet my daddy? And he's like, yes. And then he turns around to Alfred. He's like, what am I doing, Alfred? I don't want to meet her daddy. It's not part of the plan.
Yeah.
And the plan is ruined at this point, but then he realizes, like, maybe it's time for me to reevaluate the plan. And it's showing him like having just left the world of the future. He's seen into the future, and he was presented with two options there, which is one is her and one is the Batmobile, and he has to choose. And this is his moment of leaning towards one choice over the other. But then after this, he's presented with that choice again, which is to leave Linguini Tortellini in his lockbox to get beaten up by the street thugs or whatever.
Also, is this World of Tomorrow place a reference to Metropolis, like pretty directly?
Well,
or just
the
people's
World's Fair. I think a lot of World's Fair.
Okay.
The New York World's Fair was a lot like that. The one that from your Men in Black intro where they do
Yeah.
the finale.
Yeah.
It does have like a Metropolis vibe to it, but yeah, I think it's more so just like it's supposed to really heavily just be like they're them looking at what's a place that somebody would contemplate the future. It's like a theme park that is just about the world of tomorrow.
Yeah. It also serves as a means for the Joker to actually mock the future that they wanted with him goofing around with the robot lady and all that kind of stuff. And doing all the stereotypical jokes of a married life.
Yeah. So he agrees to go meet her father. Her father is Walt Disney, and he's like, I've always loved money, and money is the best fucking thing ever. But what the fuck is the point of money if you don't have a family to enjoy it with? So again, he's being presented with all these opportunities and options of like, Bruce, you have the ability, the means, and a wealth that you could share with. You could open your heart and open your bank account and let people enjoy the wealth with you, or you could squander it and make gadgets and dress like a bat and beat up psychopaths, the mentally ill.
It's actually a reference to Megalopolis from 2024, and I'm realizing that movie could have used a Batman in it.
The movie could use a lot of things. That was hard to watch.
Like not existing.
Wasn't John Voight Batman?
Yeah, basically. Yeah.
I never saw that movie.
Me neither,
It's worth watching.
Hard. It's hard to sit through though.
I liked it because of how absurd it was. I liked how I didn't have a problem sitting through it like most people did. I thought I was captivated by its insanity the whole time.
I like that one of the highest shared reviews of it was Mega Cockless. That was funny. So during this meeting with the father, a bunch of gangsters come in, and Salvatore Valestra is like, "That's why I love your father, sweetheart. He knows where his priorities lie." And it blows nasty smoke. This is when you can first notice that he's so addicted to smoking that he'll just take your cigars and smoke them right in front of you. He doesn't give a shit. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they leave, and as they're leaving the building, they hear, I don't even know what this guy's meant to be. Like, I guess maybe like a panhandler or something, or like somebody who does like street corner tricks or something, like like the card hide the P or whatever.
That's what I was wondering.
Like selling jewelry on the street. It looked like they had like a watch,
like watches. Yeah.
I thought it was I thought he was a 3-card Monty guy, but that's a good point. He was probably just selling gear on the street. He's probably like even a drug dealer, maybe.
Well, he's being harassed by some street toughs, and they're like, should have brought a bigger safe, Grandpa, or whatever they're saying. I don't remember. But yeah, he the little guy, they draw him so sort of like pathetically, where he's just like this little dude with like a flat brim cap, and he's like, I named him Linguini Tortellini because he just looks like a guy. I'd be like, please, I need to feed my family. Don't take my fake watches.
He's all recoiling in fear of them. Yeah.
I mean, they are circling him with motorcycles, and they have bats and chains, so it's pretty.
That would scare me.
Yeah. It would
and
scare
a blackjack. One of the guys has one of those blackjack things.
Yeah,
right,
yeah.
The Players Club.
Yeah.
The Players Club. And Batman, of course, or Bruce Wayne, of course, is not afraid. And he has a choice here to leave his crime fighting behind him, to leave with Andrea. But I mean, this is a different circumstance. I think there's a literal person in peril. Though if he was not to have intervened, that guy probably would have been fine and his stuff taken, and they take his stuff anyway. But Bruce Wayne does immediately throw one of them off a bridge, which I love. He runs up and he grabs the guy, just right away throws him into the water. Yeah. So that guy's out of the fight. And this is also one of my favorite moments in the movie, which is that the motorcycle is coming at him, where he's like, "I hope you got dental insurance." Or, I can't remember what he says, but that one particular guy with the chain sounds like Frank Oz. I don't know if you caught it as well, but it sounds like somebody like doing a Muppet voice. But he runs towards the motorcycle and just sucker punches the guy directly in the face. And this is one of those moments again where it's like the animation here is so fluid and satisfying. Reminded me of something from Akira, like you mentioned, Cam. It's just like they even have like the anime lines to represent speed. That's how you know it's fast. Yeah, but also it's slow.
Did this segment have its own director? Because this felt
Oh yeah, I think that they kind of say the sequence because you see some people are credited as sequence director, but I think most of the action probably had a dedicated director.
Mm-hmm.
The little like jump up and like kick the guy off the motorcycle, and he keeps that like Spider-Man kind of pose.
He doesn't even kick him though. That's because I always, for some reason, my memory is that he knees him in the face, but he just jumps up and straight up like punches him like directly, like punches him right in the face. You're like, oh my god, he's just a flying punch.
Mm-hmm. But then after that, he is like ready to take on the next motorcyclist who has the bat. And he sees Andrea watching from behind and then has that moment of hesitation where he's kind of realizing, oh, somebody that I care about is worried for me about me getting hurt. And that moment of hesitation is all the biker needs to hit him in the chest with the bat. And that's when they escape with the money.
Yeah, it's like a completely visual representation of the fact that like he hesitated because she was there, but he's also thinking about the fact that if she's there, he would get hurt or she could get hurt, and because of that fact he gets hurt, right? Brutally so. Like the guy breaks a baseball bat over his torso.
Yeah, like I don't know, that can collapse a lung. You have to be careful. Be careful, Batman.
Batman had many of his lungs removed and replaced with steel rebarb. Stainless steel rebarb ribs.
One of Lucius Fox's first inventions was steel lungs.
Yeah, Mr. Wayne, I have what I call iron lungs.
Just puts him in an iron lung.
You're gonna need one after all your ribs just got collapsed into your actual lungs.
Called the bat iron lung.
The bat
shaped
lung.
like a bat.
Yeah. And then he has a major crisis of faith where he's still drawing his costume options, but he's like, I can't do this. What am I supposed to do? There's a little note in the sides like more ears, and then he has that scratched out and says less ears. He has that scratched out as well. Like, fuck, how many ears should I put?
Enough ears.
One of them is just like a weird sun head. Like, there's so many ears.
Looks like a sunflower.
Yeah, one's just a full human ear on top of his head.
They could call me the night sun.
Yeah. We could call me that man.
He then screams to the lightning knight that he doesn't know what to do and he can't do this. He has people he cares about, and he's like, maybe I need to stop. And then Alfred overhears it and he's like, well, I assume that Miss Andrea would be happy to hear you talk about this. By the way, she's on line 1. Bloop, Miss Andrea, he's here. He's like, no, Alfred, I'm not ready yet. Oh, hold on. What is that? He's got diarrhea again, Miss Beaumont. I'm sorry.
He's got super diarrhea coming from his butt.
There's so much.
There's so much diarrhea in this room. Damn it, Alfred.
Yeah.
Do you think it's the Batman theme playing while she's on hold?
Dude, it's like an elevator version, like
a music version.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Your time is worth it to us. Please stay on the line while we connect your call. While the operator.
Hello, Miss Beaumont. Yes, he still has diarrhea. I swear, I'll call you when he gets. Oh God, that stupid TV bank one. Don't do that to me. And then he's at the graveyard begging his parent. This is the moment where I'm like, oh, he is crazy. He's actually crazy. Like, I always knew Batman is also a crazy person, but this is one of those moments where you're like, he's actually mega crazy, where not only is he in a thunderstorm on his knees in the mud, screaming to his parents' grave, like, things are different now. I'm not sad anymore. Which is like maybe a legitimate thing, but then when he's demanding a response and not getting it, he's like, come on, say something. It's like, Bruce. Jesus, man. This is the point where, like, this is why no one comes to the graveyard anymore. You keep doing this shit. I need to put down the
come back and we'll come back another day to visit your aunt. She's a little full here at the moment.
Mommy, why is that man digging in the mud? He's like, Mom, Dad.
That didn't even move the needle for Cam. He's like, you guys are done.
Listen, the song was great. I can't deny the power. I always forget about that background part of
Yeah.
So there's no silences.
So, and then she shows up and he's like, just give me a sign. And she's like, maybe they already gave you one. Maybe I'm the sign that they sent from the past. You know, I saw the sign.
Sure.
Yeah.
I saw the bat and it came down from the ceiling and he kicked my lungs into my throat and now I'm in the hospital forever.
I was wondering what the next verse was going to be. And then we go back to the future. Bam, 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 ba-da-lam, bam, 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 and he's on the building looking at something. I can't remember what there's like a moment where a helicopter's looking for him. I think he's like in hiding, but he's just, what is he doing? I don't remember.
He was still watching
oh right,
it's
the tail end of the restaurant pervy spy thing. Spy date. And then we get another Sal Valestra where he pulls in Reeves to be like,
listen, the bat is coming for us and we're all fucked and you're in on it too.
and he's like, I didn't do anything, all right? And he starts having a coughing fit because he's worried about his health. his collapsing health. He doesn't want the bat to kill him. And he's also speculating as to like why Batman is doing this, which good question. And no one else seems to be asking that except for him, but he's not convinced that it's Batman. He believes that it is. But Arthur Reeves doesn't believe that he's in any danger. So this is also one of the best moments in the movie, which is like he goes into a coughing fit again and he's like, pull over. Sorry, go ahead, Tim, if you have something to say.
Oh, no. It just kind of occurred to me that there was a part with another Bat computer scene where he starts tying the mobsters together to trying to find commonality. And when he realizes that Andrea's father was also a co-signer for their businesses, that's when he starts trying to investigate. And that's why he was spying on Andrea at the date.
That's after this. That's like after this scene.
Yeah. Oh, that's after this? Oh, pardon me.
But it's fine because it's true. The only good part about this scene is that Arthur gets out and he's like, let me out, it's not very healthy in here. And then as he's about to shut the door, it clips to Sal and he's just got this like huge like weird look on his face like
it's almost like a Ren and Stimpy Frozen moment with that.
Or like something from like Jafar or something, like just the cocked eyebrow is so intense.
Yeah, with the door slamming on him.
Yeah. And then this is where we get the moment where Bruce he's piecing together because he's casing her apartment and he finds the photo of her dad and all of those mobsters together, which is a very weird photo for her to have. But I guess at the same time, maybe she's using it as some sort of revenge fuel as well, right? Like she looks at it and being like, one down.
Like every night
it'd be super incriminating if she'd like X'd them out with like lipstick or something.
I wonder if there's a version they made that he finds and he's like, why are 3 of these X'd out?
That's weird. And actually there's a picture of Salvatore with Mayor Hills or whatever his name is from the actual cartoon, which is like a fun little reference that they snuck into the movie, which is like a little tie-in from the show. But it shows that like this guy's been connected for years with people at high levels.
Yeah. Also, it's crazy that like every businessman just looks like Walt Disney. Is that like Warner Brothers Animation just being like, fuck you, Disney?
A little dig?
Yeah.
I love money.
Yeah, everybody who's maybe evil but not quite evil is just stylized to look like Walt Disney.
Mm.
We can kind of run through this little bit quickly, which is he asks her to marry him in a very unconventional way, which is the billionaire takes his hot girlfriend to the seaside next to his mansion and then just hucks a ring box at her and says, like, you'll get the idea. I'm not very good at this kind of thing. And as she says yes, a crack in the earth next to them explodes with bats. Which is so good. Like, it's such a stupid good thing.
But effective.
It is. It's like the movie is constantly juxtaposing like the two elements of his life right next to each other in like so intensely obvious ways, but like at the same time I love it because it's a movie designed for kids, right? It shows you like the simplicity of storytelling over and over and over again, but it works for me at least because I'm a dummy. But I love it.
We all are.
And then we get a scene of him driving her home, and she's like, "I won't tell Daddy until tomorrow because she's got guests, and I'll talk to you tomorrow." And the Joker's there, clearly the Joker, which we don't know is the Joker yet, but 5-year-old me definitely didn't know it was him. But he makes a nasty, like, growling man noise at her as she walks by, and then flicks a cigarette at Bruce's car, like, terrible.
To be able to hit a moving car like that too with a cigarette,
impressive.
He must have went to the circus or something.
Yeah. Imagine he flicked it into the car by accident.
Into the ashtray, like next to Alfred.
Oh, that was pretty dope.
That guy must rule.
That guy must have worked in the circus or some shit.
We're destined to be friends forever.
Yeah.
The monkey paw curls.
And then Bruce explores the bat cave. He's like, it's some sort of cave full of bats. And Alfred looks very upset and gives him the ring back. And he discovers that Andrea has left with her father and the wedding is off because she's too young and needs time and to leave her alone. Mm-hmm. And that's when Batman makes the choice to fully become Batman. And we get a pretty cool suit up sequence. I mean, like every Batman movie has a cool suit up sequence. Actually, I can't think of one from the Ben Affleck movies. Is there one? I mean, there's the training sequences that everybody jerks off to or whatever, but like, I don't know.
I don't remember.
Batman versus Superman has that like that sweet Batman mini movie where he goes in and kills all those guys at the waterfront, which
good.
Kind of is the.
Yeah. But I'm talking about a suit up sequence where he puts his
he's got like a weird robot suit though. It's hard to remember.
Yeah. I mean, like there's like for me as far as
he does CrossFit. I remember that.
Yes.
That's what I'm talking about. His training montage where he's like
he's got the ropes.
tires and stuff.
Yeah.
And he's punching a tractor tire down the hill or something. Or up a hill maybe. I don't know.
But as far as like iconic Batman suit ups and reveals, like there's this, and for me anyway, there's this and Batman 1999 with Michael Keaton, and that's at the very end before like the finale of the movie, and it does like the Michael Keaton looking up and revealing the light on him. Yeah,
you don't like the Schumacher ones where they keep giving you crotch shots,
just butt shots and crotch shots,
the butt nipple.
I mean, not for Batman stuff, but otherwise I love it.
So horny.
But yeah, this one is like he's just putting it on in complete shadow basically, and he puts his hand out and Alfred gives him the cowl and he puts it on and then my God, like Alfred's scared
by it. Yeah, I thought that was really fun.
Even for you, Master Brain, this is way too horny.
Master Brain.
Did I say brain? Oh my God.
We got taking on all the Warner animated stuff.
That's what he calls him for short.
Yeah, he's always hanging brain.
Yeah.
That's why he said, "My God," when he turned around.
Yeah, Master Wayne, you're hanging Bruce, if you know what I mean.
Kim's like, this is too lowbrow even for me, but
I also feel like their dynamic is that Batman is Pinky and Alfred's the brain. So
yeah,
right. Of the two of them.
He almost always solves things simply where Batman is making them far more complex.
Yeah.
But he's also there to like explain things to us, right? Like Batman knows everything, and then Alfred's like, "What do you mean, Master Wayne?" And it's like, "Oh, well, it's like this, Alfred." And he's like, "Oh, like when a pawn is taken in chess."
Yeah.
Yes.
No, we need 400 cell phones to turn into a bad computer.
Mhm. But he is an effective audience surrogate in that sense.
Yeah.
But he's also not dumb, right? It's not like Riker. I mean, Riker's not dumb either, but Riker's always there to be like, "In English, please." And then like Data's like, "Well, basically, it's like a whoopee cushion."
That would be an awesome episode, but that's not
And
too
Riker's
distracted
like,
by that.
I understand. Yeah.
But yeah, after this episode, fanfic ahoy! I'm going to be writing a whoopee cushion Star Trek episode.
Boy.
Perfect.
So flashback complete, and he takes the photo. And then we get to the best sequence of events in the entire movie, which is Salvatore Valestra going to desperately plead with the Joker to take out the Batman before Batman kills him.
Mhm.
And I think we can just maybe talk about the sequence in general. I don't need to go through it beat for beat because it's just so.
We meet his robot Cheryl, I think her name is, and who ends up being a murder bot. Spoilers.
Yeah, I do like that. If he either he can reprogram a robot or the robot had a mode that was murder all guests.
Oh, that's your problem right there. Was set to murder.
Yeah.
Also, this is where the Joker is very like. There's some of the dialogue here is very much for adults in a kids movie, especially later where he's like, "How about some of that electricity we know so well?" Insinuating he's gonna bang that robot, but also he tweaks her face and pulls a piece of skin off and puts it in his pocket, which I thought was really funny.
There's a lot of fun details in this whole sequence. I was watching a little bit of behind the scenes stuff for this movie early today, and specifically the Mark Hamill stuff is fun because in his interview for this, he talks about how when he was first getting ready for doing the Joker or auditioning, he saw pictures as reference, and he just thought this guy is all teeth, that he's always showing his teeth. And so Mark Hamill's like, as much as possible, he's actually talking through his teeth and that physical performance. And Andrea Romano was saying that like seldom is Mark Hamill ever sitting when he's doing a Joker voiceover. He's always standing up. And apparently, like they said, like pull all the stops for this one. We need like the most Joker you can deliver, which I think he does for this movie.
I think it's set sort of the bar for the rest of what the Joker is for the entirety of his run. And I mean, I don't think he does it anymore because I think when Conroy passed away, he was like, "I'm also done now."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But even if you watch season one, it feels like a subdued version of it. Like he doesn't go this crazy. But this is what you expect all the way up until like the Arkham games and the Killing Joke and everything beyond it. It's like you can tell that he's standing up for a lot of it because I don't think you can hit those laughs if you're sitting on a stool or something, right? Like you got to put your whole torso into it and twist yourself around and stuff.
Yeah,
it's hard to do. Like I've had to do this. I've tried to do an impression of this character for one of the channels before because they love the Joker. They're like, put the Joker in this, put the Joker in that, and I'm like, I'm trying to do it. And I can do his like, like the deep laugh that he does. I can do that pretty well, but the high pitched one is like, I cannot do it. Yeah. It's hard. Yeah, and I'm alone when I do this a lot of the time, and I'm trying to do it, and I feel embarrassed for myself, and there's no one around.
Yeah,
that's me. And I feel embarrassed.
I just want to hear all these. My Hogwarts house is Hufflepuff. Oh boy! what if Joker was chosen?
See, like that's a different Joker, Jason. It's not the right one.
Yeah, that's absolute Joker. My favorite bit of this, which we might have even already mentioned it, I forgot, is they do the great job of framing the Phantasm is attacking the Joker, and they frame it perfectly that he's right by a cleaver, but instead he gets a big thing of bologna and hits her with it.
Yeah.
So good. Because it's just like the dumbest gag where it's like his hand is inches from a knife.
Yeah.
And he doesn't pick it up.
But you know it's coming too, and it's still satisfying because you're like, okay, he had to do something. Like I feel like even if it'd be the funnier gag would be that he grabs the knife and then lets go and then grabs the bologna because he thinks it's funnier to hit you with a bologna. Yes. But it's funny either way. But yeah, this whole series of events, from his introduction to shooting the singing robots to him forcing this elderly man with an oxygen tank into like a tram car thing, and everything he does is like forcing the bar down, be like, keep your legs and arms inside.
But then he sits outside of the bar, which I know. Like, did you notice that he doesn't even put himself? He just sits like kind of on top of it.
Yeah.
This guy,
he's running this thing around all day. I feel like he's got nothing to do but be a psychopath.
Mm-hmm.
He's never worn personal safety equipment in his entire life.
Yeah.
Except for the helmet at the very end.
That's true.
Oh yeah,
back on. Well, he knows that one's dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
He's put a lot of robots and henchmen through. This is another thing, is he has no henchmen.
Mm-hmm.
The Joker usually has at least a few goons, you know. But I guess his robot wife is his goon. But I like that he's like, "Oh, don't mind my personal home security system." And then
the dog.
Down, Rusty.
Down, Rusty. Boots it across. I knew that was coming too. I was like, he's gonna kick that shit.
But even the kick is like, he does it like a field goal kick.
Yeah,
he kicks like way too high.
Yeah, it's over exaggerated.
So high up. Yeah.
And then what is he? He says like, he's like, can't be too careful. You know, there's so many weirdos out there these days. Or something.
Yes.
And then, you know, he sits him down. It's also funny that they have like a sit down conversation. Like he's like, sit down, Sal. And then he sits down, and then the world of tomorrow provides him with a fucking footstool.
It's that was like the most cartoonish part of the movie in a way, where just like you don't even see anything pushing it there, or it's on a track or something. It just kind of
slides in.
Yeah.
But I love that he's listening intently and not interrupting, and just doing this the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
He is thinking, and not about what's the funniest thing to say.
And in this conversation with Sal, whereas he's saying that he's going to pay him $5 million up front and whatever he wants afterwards to kill the Batman for him, because he's afraid of being killed off as well, and all the other mobsters have already been killed. He's almost like touching on Joker's past, and there's this almost uncharacteristic moment where, as he's Sal's like trying to grab him by the lapels and say, like, you know, your hands are as dirty as mine, dirtier. And Joker starts to build with rage, and then you see the background turn red.
Yeah, that was really cool. I really liked that. Yeah,
I thought it was interesting to kind of see that, like, there is like this residual thing from him, more depth from of a character.
The way I was reading that is that, like, Joker is an identity, and he is the Joker, and his past life is separate, and he doesn't like anybody ever talking about who he was before he was the Joker, because that doesn't exist anymore. And so to bring it up to him and to be like, remember the things that you did before you put on this makeup, and he's like, that's not me anymore, I'm different. It's like a real thing too, and like I like it, and I love the fact that and it's not just any red either. It's like this super vibrant, like tomato red, like the kind of red that like you turn when you go embarrassed or something.
And for a movie like this, and for a show like this, it's a burst of color seldom seen.
And it's also a moment where like he breaks for just a moment, where he gets legitimately angry, and he's like, don't touch me, old man. And he's like, I don't know where you've been. And then he like immediately snaps back into being the Joker again, right? And then he agrees to do it, and he's like, that's what I like to see, like I want to see
he starts like
smile on that face of yours. And again, Jason, you mentioned that he's like, isn't she cute? And he pulls a little chunk off and saves it for later, I guess. I don't know what he does with it, but he puts it in his breast pocket, which is weird. It's like Gold Member saving his skin chunks or whatever in like a box. Like, what does he do with those? But then there's like later he does it again, but he's clearly touching her butt. He pulls up like a butt chunk. Good stuff. But yeah, he agrees, and then we have the next moment of Batman confronting Andrea. She's coming back from the date. I assume this is all meant to be in the same night. And she's not surprised to see Batman there. She's already determined that it's Bruce, and I guess he knows that she knows, which is fine. But he doesn't seem surprised. But he basically is
I think that there's in a flashback she knows kind of, or like she knows he's like a vigilante, right? Yeah.
Well, she already she didn't like she vocalized that she like at the graveyard kind of starting to piece it together.
Yeah.
But that's not a flashback.
When he fights those motorcycle people, she's kind of like, well, that's
how did you do that?
Yeah.
How did you like jump 5 feet up in the air? Yeah.
And land that punch? That's pretty impressive, Bruce.
Andrea, please. Can't you see I'm brooding?
And then she sort of reveals like chunks of the truth, but it's more him speculatively detecting, using his detective prowess, and her not disagreeing, and nothing is really revealed except for it to determine us to be able to determine, like, put the pieces together, you idiots who are watching, and we're like, okay, thanks movie, thanks for piecing it together. But you're also then given a chunk of more, which is that she is hiding something, which is why she collapses and cries after. It's like, but also maybe one of the hardest lines that anyone has ever said to Batman before, which is like, the only one being controlled by their parents here is you. It's like, oh fuck. If a live action Batman was told that, it would be, top 10 lines in a Batman. Top 10 lines in a Batman film. Top 10 time people clap back to the bat.
Burger King foot lettuce.
But she also kind of snaps at him for spying on her, which is like, even though she, it turns out that she is doing something untoward, but she kind of calls him out for, almost needlessly spying on her. Because he said, she said, "Would you have me? Did you wiretap me or bug my room?" He said, "Yeah, I read your lips. We'll read them now." And
get out of here, you prick.
Which I think is good characterization, where like it's not Kim Basinger in 1989 Batman or anything. Like there's a little bit more boldness with her, which seems to be a better, at least if we're talking about like toe-to-toe match with Batman. Which
their dynamic reminded me a bit of him, Batman and Catwoman. The way that they usually interact with each other, and they never figure out who each other are, even though it's like so obvious to the audience.
Yeah.
Just like communicate and you'll figure it out. And that's what they do in this movie. They communicate and then figure it out. Or at least one-sided.
And, like you look at all the romantic interests in every single one of the live action Batman movies, and I don't think it's as compelling as this, or at least like well written. This is a very simplistic story, and like the relationship reflects that. It's very simplistic, but the complexities that exist in the Nolan episodes, it's like it's mostly just one-sided. It's like Batman pining over somebody who doesn't actually want them and then gets blown up or whatever, right? And it's like he doesn't have a romantic interest really. And then the next time a woman comes, it turns out that she's secretly known that he's Batman the whole time and hates his ass. It's like, oh god. I think Batman Returns maybe has the best one with Selena Kyle and Michael Keaton, but like that one even is like the reason that they work so well is that they're both crazy people who like dress up.
Right.
And,
they're both damaged individuals.
Fight in the snow. Like it's fucking weird, but it's more interesting at least, and this is more interesting to me than a lot of the relationships in most of the live action versions, because they're not really fully developed characters and they're not interesting. They're just there to be like, Batman is so mysterious. I'm in love with a man who's in love with the night or whatever. But she's complicated, and like, and the more the movie goes on, the more complicated it is revealed that she is. It's like, oh yeah, you think that she's simplistic, but no. The more that it goes on, the more it's kind of tragic, and almost more tragic than Bruce Wayne, which is maybe why like he looks at it in his understanding of it. It's like, oh, your life is just as twisted as mine and maybe worse.
Quite a few parallels going on, including with the Joker as well too.
Yep. I like the contrast between this scene and how she collapses and cries, and then it immediately sort of like slow cuts to the Phantasm standing on a building looking over Salvatore Valestra's penthouse thing. As like a kingpin penthouse, with big doors on the roof. Like, what do those doors open up into?
Mhm.
My sky garage. I kind of wish though. This is like maybe the only thing that bugs me is that she's just kind of walking through this house, like she doesn't have the mist around her feet and she's not glide. I'm like, I kind of wish that she was still doing the glide here, just because like I understand that they're now they're at the point, they're like, we've reached the precipice where now we're going to humanize this character, so we have to show them being human, and
from their perspective of doing things.
Yeah, so we're going to show them taking actual footsteps and not hovering like what are those like, oh fuck, there's like a specific type of ballet where they wear long dresses and
I know the one.
Oh yeah, it's like a folk dance, isn't it?
Yeah, where they move around but they do it on the tippy toes.
I want to say it's called
like
Cascadian, but I'm pretty sure that's
it's something like that.
Yeah,
I think it's
the one I'm thinking of is Beryoska, is the Russian one where you'll just look like you're floating.
Yeah. I kind of wish that she would, just in case there's security cameras or something, she could still look mysterious. Like I would still, if I was in the position, I'd be like, nope. As soon as I enter, mysterious.
This is why you'll never be a Phantasm.
I know, I get too bogged down in the smoke and mirrors. Yeah. I don't know when to turn it off. I'd run out of gas before I got to the guy I'm supposed to slice in half or whatever.
I do like the design of the Phantasm, but I do think it's funny that her weapon is just like a weird hand axe.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was a funny choice.
I think
it's no other bells and whistles or tools.
I think it's supposed to be a scythe. Like they're like, I need to have a scythe as my weapon, but I need it to be a scythe that makes sense for me to use in close hand combat. Because if you have a regular scythe, it would be so hard to fight somebody with. So she like made a scythe because she's like, I want it to be visually intimidating, but also I want it to be tactile and I want to be able to use it in a fight properly. Also, I think that is like that style weapon is like a real weapon that exists in an actual ancient history.
Yeah,
and it's a little claw hand. I guess she never uses it like that, but it looks like it could be.
She does scratch. She scratches.
Well, like it looks like it's got two things that could go pinch.
Oh, like a crab claw.
So you're not totally one-handed.
Yeah. But then her other hand, the one that shoots the smoke, has claws on it as well. Like
true.
Another great moment though when she goes in and this is also like a trope from everything that has ever existed that has somebody in a chair when you haven't seen their face and have to reveal that they're dead in the chair already, but still very effective, and maybe the first time that I ever saw it, to be honest, because like I was too little to have seen tons and tons of movies and television at this point. And I think maybe is the cause for a lot of anxiety for me, because like I knew something was wrong when he has the newspaper up and he's not moving. And then beyond that, every time like somebody was in a chair and not moving, and like, what is it, like the Scary Movie one where it's like, Tiffany? Like turns around and she's like, it's like, Tiffany, are you okay?
She's still trying to shake them around.
It's like that kind of shit. But I also really like the fact that the Joker was he's so obsessed with killing the Batman that he put a camera in his lap to be like, I need to watch Batman's face right before I blow his ass up.
At first I thought it was a gun, and then I was like, is this camera going to be a gun also? And then I was like, no, he just like affixed a weird video camera to this man. So yeah, like you were going to say, to see him get blown up by this by a modern plane, which just has like a Joker bomb on the bottom of it.
I also do like that the Joker has put a speaker into to be able to be like, got you, bats, or whatever, but then his response is to just let out like a wait a minute, you're not the bat. Oh, oopsie doopsie. But he doesn't stop. He's like, well, you're dead now anyway. I don't give a shit. Because his whole goal was to stop himself from dying, which is, to blow him up. And the Phantasm gets away, and Batman shows up, and they have a cool roof chase, which, again, how the fuck is she so fast when she's running like Black Panther from fucking Captain America Winter Soldier or whatever? You're like, oh my God, this is insane. But also still
the Batwing,
Also, that smoke trail, maybe not a good idea. It's like telegraphing where you're going, where you came from.
But it is a cool look.
It is a cool look, yeah. I think that, like, out of all of the animated series villains, you know, you guys have probably seen, like, I did that series of drawings like years and years and years ago at this point. And I always wanted to draw the Phantasm, but I could never figure out like an interesting composition because like the character themselves, the mask is mostly what's interesting, and the claw. And it's like when I'm doing just the silhouette, it's kind of hard to achieve that. But the gray and the black and the super white eyes plus claw glove, it's like it's such a good look. Super simplistic. Yeah, I don't know. What do you guys have to say about this battle?
It's a good setup too towards like bringing in the whole police hunting Batman, because of course they're going to be attracted to a giant explosion.
Yeah.
And it still maintains like that red herring that the audience doesn't quite know that it's Andrea Beaumont. They still think it's likely the dad, and you're still hearing Stacy Keach's voice. So it's still like, even though it's a dynamic scene, it's still kind of maintaining the illusion of it all, which and it's also like we were talking earlier about the initial music score. This is also the music during this sequence, and the police chase sequence is also fantastic.
Yeah,
to the point where like you can almost like tune out anything dialogue wise.
No, I found that the music was almost like too epic for what it was. You know, like it was like it the juxtaposition between like a regular Batman fight and then a Batman escape sequence, like with this like full Sephiroth like style Latin choir happening over top of it it's great. Like it's awesome. It doesn't take anything away from it, but I was just going like, this is where they put like $1 million of the dollars that was infused into the movie probably of making this incredible score, because the score is my favorite part of this whole thing. And the fight was pretty standard battle between hero and villain, but the next sequence is my spoilers Home Alone at all. Batman running away and having to like decowl and climb and fences and
crazy head injury where you can't even see basically.
And he doesn't have the bat cape thing where he can coast down or he doesn't do it that well, and he keeps falling off like 5 stories and just like landing, and there's one part where he just hits the ground and just like stands up. Like it's good stuff. It's good Batman stuff.
I think any time in a movie like this where because it's one of the beauties of Batman, right? It's like they never abandon the secret identity thing. That's one of the things that kind of like is rough about Marvel, is like everybody knows who all the heroes are, and there's never that need to keep secret, where Batman has always maintained it. Anytime they're decowled and having to run around with their mask, there's a heightened sense of tension where like at any moment someone could flash a flashlight in the right direction and be like, that's fucking Bruce Wayne. What the hell?
They got close enough to him a couple times during that where I was like, they saw who it was. One of those police officers knows that Bruce Wayne is Batman for sure.
And another thing in this sequence too, which I remember seeing this in the theater as a kid, kind of thinking, "Oh wow," was even though like deep down I knew Batman's going to win in the end, but to show him bleeding and to have on top of like the mask, it's a big moment of vulnerability for him, and that's how much the situation has devolved for his character. That everything's falling apart. The police that he is on the side of is hunting him down now. And it's a very chaotic moment, and if there's this kind of feeling of where Batman is always in control, where at the beginning of the movie he's in control, he's stomping on the guy under the table, he's calm, there's no worry about him, but now he's worried, and now he's kind of backed into the corner, and so that's a great arc for him as far as what the threat has become for him in particular.
What do you guys think of these retro futurist fucking SWAT team dildos?
Yeah,
I
I
always
do.
like
I
that
do not
style.
like that design. I don't know.
No, yeah, it was a little jank.
It just
but
seems.
I
It seems
thought
outside of the other stuff they've
Oh,
done.
it pushes the envelope a little bit for what you would think 1930s, 1940s type of city, North
Yeah.
American city would have, for
Yeah.
sure. But yeah, it's a little heightened reality for sure.
I wonder, like, I guess, you know, like Kevlar vests and stuff weren't really invented until, isn't it like mid Vietnam? It was
I
like
don't
when
know.
I think it's because I think it was the guy who invented the modern ones, the ones that we think of now.
Mhm.
Like he went to Vietnam and saw like a bunch of people get killed, and it's like,
Sure.
well, if we had some way to, and so he figured out a way to make them. I could be wrong. I could have just
Johnny
heard that.
Kevlar.
Johnny Kevlar, yeah.
Yeah, it's almost like in the old Spider-Man cartoon, The Amazing Spider-Man, where the police had laser cannons.
Yeah.
And there's always kind of like that little, and I guess that's almost to
I
give
wonder
a
if they
visual
did the
flair.
color scheme though, like if they didn't have like the red and like sort
Yeah.
of-
It's. I think honestly, it is something weird about the colors too.
if
It's
they
just.
were-
Just
yeah.
a design I don't like.
if they were gray and black, maybe it wouldn't be as jarring to your.
And I do think, I do think they kind of never fully established like that. It's meant to be like question mark era question mark. You know,
Yeah.
it's pre-cell phone, so it's extra hard to tell because nobody would have had cell phone.
But they have car phones and plane phones.
Yeah,
Mhm. And in multiple lines at people's homes.
So he's rescued by Andrea, and she takes him to his home, and she reveals what actually happened that night, which is that her father was threatened by the same gangsters that had been dying, and they had to leave because her father owed them a whole bunch of money and wasn't able to get enough of it out of investments and stuff and time. And if they were not to give the money to Sal Valestra, then they'd both be dead in 48 hours or whatever. So they have to flee the country. And that's what they do. And I believe later it's inferred that they did pay them back. It just took them longer than they said. And,
Yeah. It's a message has to be delivered kind of thing.
Yeah. So that the message is your father's dead now, kid. But we don't figure that out until a little later. But they reconcile with one another. But she leaves before, she leaves, and then as she leaves, he goes over the photos again, and he's like, "Well, everyone's dead now except for." Oh shit! Oh no, it's the Joker.
The joking man.
And as before they part, he says to her, like, is there a chance for us to be happy? And he said, I want to say yes, but you understand it's going to come down between your father and I eventually. Eventually I'm going to have to confront him. Mm-hmm. And then she just says, Daddy doesn't matter anymore, which is a little, a lead into the reveal that, like, why wouldn't he matter to her? She came to the city for this.
Mm-hmm.
But also she came and her father's not there, so there's the implication that she came to get away from him, right?
Mm-hmm.
But also she's trying to set up that it's him, it's her killing everybody, but she's trying to be like, but it's also
to pin it on him.
Yeah. So I think that was in a way her saying, like, giving him permission to fight him, but like she's also her intent is to kill the Joker, it be done with it, and then the Phantasm dies as well, and then her and Bruce could be together, not expecting it to come to an explosive three-way combat situation, which is very cool at the end. So he sees the last person alive in the photograph, and he realizes by drawing a big smiley face on him, like, oh shit.
Now, what if you drew like a giant top hat on him and he's like, the Mad Hatter?
Or he's looking at it and he looks at the TV and it's Wizard of Oz playing, and he's like, if I only had a brain. He's like, oh fuck.
Yeah, he draws a brain on it.
Shit.
He draws bat cowl on it, and he's like, "Oh my god, he's me!"
It just continues to doodle all these things.
Knocks over a drink and an ice cube, goes over top the guy's head.
Oh my! Punches himself in the face.
It's my entire rogues gallery. Dun, 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 dun. I do like this transition as well, though, which is like he draws it, and then we get the crazy Joker cackle, and then the cackle continues until we see Arthur Reeves in his office arguing and having a mild freak out, and then we get hello, Audie, old pal. And the Joker is here to confront the last thread, the last dangling thread. He's trying to get information on where these people are, but to me, this is the only confusing part to me, and maybe you guys can explain it to me. He is the one that killed her dad, right? So he knows her dad is dead, so he knows it can't be her dad. So he must already know that it's her, way beyond us knowing, right?
Well, he doesn't realize that she's in town until she calls while he's in the room.
Right.
Yeah.
And then
he's surprised by that.
Because the scene after this is where he has the remote helicopter fly the bomb into her apartment with Batman in there.
So he must already know that it's her, though, because he's the one that killed her dad.
Yeah. Well, he might have suspicions, but I don't know if anything's confirmed at that point. I would assume not until
the confirming moment where he's
so
he goes to him to be like, I need to figure out who it is, why they're doing it, and when they're going to do it. Because
the only person left is you.
Yeah. And he is sort of like a limp dick version of these mobsters, where he was like, I was just handling weird I don't know anything about any of this. He does, and he's always sort of been in bed with the entire operation, just at a much lower level than the rest of them. So he realizes this is a loose end, but he's like, I don't need to kill you, so I'm just going to drive you crazy instead, because that's what I do. I'm the Joker. I'm the Joker, baby, is what he says, and then he's with a syringe or something. And I mean, this is, it's an important scene, and I don't want to skim over it. If you guys have anything else to say about it, it's a cool reveal, but and it's got a lot of good Jokery moments in it. But I do like when he makes him take up the call, and he's like, shh, don't tell her I'm here. It's like, you think I was gonna tell her you're here? Like, why would I do that? You probably should.
There's a cool moment during this with the phone call where he's on the phone, and it transitions, he's in the front of the frame, and it transitions over to him on the call. I thought that was a cool thing. It reminded me of when earlier on, the red that Tim mentioned. It was another cool little transition.
Well, I mean,
moment.
that's something that we haven't really talked about too much during this in terms of production, is all of the old plate style plane stuff that they do in this movie, which is an old technique by today's standards, but it was probably still being utilized here. I'm sure it was maybe on the way out, but I think they were still doing it, where a lot of this stuff was painted on glass and shot primarily through film and stuff. And they were probably doing that for their TV show, and then that executive came by, saw the computer, and he's like, what is it? What are these computer graphics? Hold on a second. Anybody got $6 million lying around? We gotta get these nuts of money. Can you make Batman look like this? No, sir.
No, we would rather just hand draw his sweet cape in the darkness and have a little bit of a blue tinge. And they're like, what? Can computers do it? And they're like, sir, not yet. Don't worry. There's going to be plenty of time.
You can do it with
Lego, though. Generate everything.
Yeah. Before your children's children are dead, computers will do all of it. We won't need writers or animators or anything. It can just be you and a stack of money and your cigars.
And your money will go up and your soul will go down.
Yeah. He then poisons Arthur, and this is the scariest scene when I was a kid for me.
Oh, your sound went out.
Mine did?
Yeah, just for a second there.
The actor who plays Arthur Reeves does one of the most amazing jobs of choking on your laughter while trying to talk that I've ever heard. And it's like a scary level of he's talking through laughs, and it sounds so real. And paired with the animation of the tears just constantly streaming down his cheeks.
He's crying because he's freaked out.
And I don't know if you guys have ever had a laugh attack like that before, but it's fucking rough. Your body is in ridiculous amounts of pain, and I don't know, he plays it so well. And then even when he's calming down and he's has those sort of after laughs where you can tell that his body is like trying to relax.
Yeah.
It's so well done. It's so scary.
Reminded me of the from Terminator 2 when Miles Dyson is dying and he's holding onto the weight over the switch and he's having those last pants that he's like struggling to hold on to until the very last moment. So yeah, there, it was like, as you were kind of implying there, Steve, like it's very pained what he was experiencing. Yeah.
And I think again that it's like a weirdly heavily animated scene. Like the way he moves and stuff is so fluid and
kicking the sheets off and kicking the trays out of the way. Yeah.
And the close up, just like there's not that many hyper sort of close ups in Batman.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there's a ton of them where like it'll be his face and he's staring up like past camera, but then he'll like look into his pillow and like his face is like burying itself in his pillow, and you get these profiles of him like almost chewing on it, and it's quite frightening. And I remember like as a kid even just being like, this is maybe too scary. Like, this part is too scary. Like laughing to death is a very scary thing. Mm-hmm. And it's really long. It's like it's like a 5 to 6 minute sequence where he calms down and then Batman comes in and starts interrogating him, and it restarts his laughter. Like they calm him down enough that he can go to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The toxin I think he's like, just calm down, the toxin will make its course and you'll be fine in the morning. And then Batman's like, tell me everything. And he immediately starts giggling when Batman comes in, like, oh God, this isn't good. Yeah. Animation good for that sequence, and he gets all the information he needs, which is what is the information in that sequence? It's for me to
he was wondering why the Joker met with him, and he eventually caved and said that when he was running for city council, he ran out of money and became desperate, and when he asked Beaumont for money, he refused because I guess it would give away his location if they found out, like, where'd you get all this money from? So instead he out of desperation went to the mobsters and gave away the location of Beaumont. And I'm guessing, and this is once again I'm kind of projecting into it, but I'm guessing this is where, like, because we were kind of saying before, why did the police just stop hunting Batman? I'm kind of assuming with if it becomes suspicious that he's doing dealings with the Joker for some reason, and so his position as a city councilor is compromised, and therefore the investigation in Batman hunting it falls apart. So yeah, I that's where I kind of more so a theory of mine, but not too crazy.
Did you just say
theories?
I did.
I like how we clearly both went for it, and I was like, no, we won't.
Did you just say what I thought you said? Okay, so this yes, I think that, like, for me, like, even watching it this week, I watched it twice this week. Mm-hmm. This is one of those moments where the laughing of it all is like it's so overwhelming to me that I don't process the information of what's actually being presented to Batman, and I'm like, this is so intense. Like, everything about this is so well done, and I keep like drooling over the animation and mostly the performance. I think the guy's laughter is so realistic sounding. Like, if you've ever heard somebody who's like dying of laughter like that, it's like that's what it sounds like. Anyway,
Steve,
I like it. Right?
Are you the Joker? How have you heard all these people dying of laughter?
I'll never tell.
But to have a character come in to have
you want to hear about how I sat on my balls
over and over again, please. To have an actor, a performer come in to do a laugh take that rivals that of Mark Hamill in the same show, in the same movie, that's something remarkable.
It's also like, it's different, right? Like, Mark Hamill's laughter is joyous, but it also feels like performative in a way, but in a good way, right? Like, there is joy to it, but it feels like there's a fakeness there. Then that's the joy. That's like, I am the Joker and I'm enjoying what I'm doing, but I can stop this laugh at any point. Whereas this guy seems like his laugh is going to keep going until he either dies or passes out.
Yeah, it's a different set of layers to it for sure.
It's like an exhausted laughter where like he needs to drink a glass of water afterwards and like maybe take a nap.
Yeah.
But yeah, the point of the scene is that he gets the information and it leads him back to Andrea's apartment where he finds the locket, the necklace, whatever, the pendant. I don't even really know what it is. Does it have a picture inside of it? I don't think it does.
Well, yeah, a picture of them together.
Oh, right. Yeah. And then the Joker sends a bomb to come blow his ass up, and he's like, but he infers that he's like, your future lies tomorrow in a couple of days, just like that time you went on a date there. And it's being flown by one of the Future of Tomorrow planes, and he blows it up. And he does a classic Joker, like, I got you, Batman. Which leads us into the, I think that this is like the only flashback that is solely hers. Every other flashback is either Bruce's or a story being told to Bruce by her, but this is the only one that's independent of anything, which is just showing the actual truth, which is Joker laughing, and then her thinking about her father's death, which is her coming home one day with groceries and then seeing the Joker leave the house. And she's like, it's you, but we paid you. And then she goes in and screams, which obviously the implication is that he did something really bad to her dad.
And steals an apple for himself. Yeah.
Well, it's funny I rewound this because I kind of missed what happened because I was watching it on a phone in an Uber, and when I know I had a weird day. I had to get the movie into my brain, but anyway,
you got picked up by the Phantasm, who has a special Uber that just plays Phantasm.
But she's carrying this brown bag.
R. Phillips, your destination has arrived.
Would you like a bottle of water?
We have plugs for your phone to plug in and charge.
There's gum in the back flap.
You want to hit this ox?
And in the flap is the Billionaire magazine that you can fondle over for Bruce Wayne.
Yeah. Has Bats Gone Bats? On the cover of the magazine. She's carrying this like very regular look. It's got like a a loaf of bread and like a lettuce or celery or whatever. And when she drops it, 400 apples come out of it. Yeah. So many apples.
She was disguising the bag. She put a baguette in there, and then she put lettuce on top, but she didn't want people to know that she was buying that many apples.
So many apples. Yeah.
She's a nut for them.
Also, when they got that $6 million, at first it was just a couple apples, and they're like, add a couple more. We got $6 million. Just pay the animators.
I think realistically, it was like, if he's going to pick an apple up to bite it, we have to make it real sure. We have to be real sure that people know he's biting an apple. So we got to show lots of apples, and the people are like, it seems like a studio note. Like, I think they would figure it out when he's eating an apple. They're like, no, not enough apples, and we'll give you another $500,000.
What is he eating? His fist?
Did the Joker just bite a pomegranate? He truly is mad.
Yeah.
Truly insane, that guy.
Just chewing an onion.
Maybe it is a red onion. Maybe that's Joker's weird quirk.
Either way, it's the dream is being, or not dream, but the flashback is being presented as she's looking on to future world in its desolate state with a blood red sky, which I think, again, when it's a blood red sky, I always just assume it's like the sun has just set and Gotham is getting ready for a night of violence. Like the red night tonight, sailor's delight, or whatever. Those sayings where it's like a red sky in Gotham, brother.
Better
welcome if you got him.
Awesome. Batman's like, I'm awesome.
I didn't hear what you said. What did you say?
We said, brother, I'm awesome in the Batman voice.
I said red sky in Gotham. You said, brother, I'm awesome. Yeah. I said, red sky in Gotham, smoke him if you got him.
Yeah.
I mean, smoke them if you Gotham. I'm sure.
There you go. It was right there. It was right there. It's got night Batman's delight.
Batman branded cigarettes.
Mhm.
We get a nice shot of the Joker getting ready for bed, where he's talking to his wife, and he's like, "Feeling the old electricity tonight? Ooh." Eating slices of bologna.
Hey man, don't knock it till you tried it. That bologna, I gotta say, I
like
started
bologna.
having a craving for bologna, seeing a cartoon bologna.
I was
serious.
It's a good, cheap, budget-friendly craving to get.
Yeah. I loved bologna as a kid.
90s, yeah. Bologna and mustard.
You must be from out east.
Yeah. Bologna sandwiches.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Great for a day at the beach.
But you fry the bologna.
Bologna is basically.
I mean, ooh la la, Mr.
Yeah.
Fancy frying his bologna.
Oh, yeah. I mean, let's not talk about the contents of bologna. It may as well come straight from the trash. Yeah.
It's pig anuses and pig anuses. That's it.
Mm.
Yeah. It's the rejected.
So what you do is you take the pig anuses and you take the pig anuses, and there you go.
You bologna them.
And that's
You
where
put them in
babies
the
come from.
bolognator.
Yeah.
And bada bing,
That's right.
bada boom.
That's where babies come from. Yeah.
But yeah, this is another part where they sneak in another mature joke for the parents in the audience, for the adults in the audience, where doesn't it figure when you get in the mood, company arrives?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is like, is that a thing that adults think about? I was about to start it up, sex, and then ding dong. Have you heard about Jesus Christ? And I'm like, Jesus Christ, get off my board.
Were you one of the writers on this? Because basically they
I'm
made
pretty sure
basically the
that-
same joke.
Listen, I told you that this movie taught me how to write.
Yeah.
But this is also like a good moment where she comes in and she's like, Joker, your angel of death awaits. And immediately he's like, nice trick, lady. And he's like, oh, I guess you figured it out. And immediately takes off her armored mask, which I'm like, is that a good idea or a bad idea? But it's probably pretty hard to fight in that medieval helmet that she's got on.
Mhm.
So she takes it off and just decides to kung fu fight him.
Mm.
Joker.
Hello, Mrs. Kung Fu.
Yeah. Joker immediately tries to punch her, and she, gets a few good licks in on him, and they have a good little bout. But she gasses him, he gasses her.
Mhm.
She nut kicks him pretty hard, and he goes.
Yeah.
He gives a good.
He squirts his flour on
Yeah.
her scythe and melts it off, which was pretty nuts.
Yeah. Again, imagine all this in live action with
Mhm.
Jared Leto's Joker. I'm just kidding.
Oh.
Hey man, yeah, I would settle for Jared Leto's Joker if I got a live action version of a Snyderverse version of this, where it's just gritty as fuck and brutal.
Mhm.
Hell yeah. Or a Matt Reeves version of this, which we might be getting. It's
Yeah.
supposed to be in winter. I think the big bad will be Mr. Freeze, but there will be a first act where he has to deal with the Phantasm. Fuck me up with that movie. Hook me up and fuck me up.
Fuck you and fuck you. All right.
The intro that I made, I almost made it like a comedy version where I was going to make the Phantasm go like, everybody strap in and strap on and strap down. But I didn't do it.
No, you
It's
played
time
it,
to
you
party.
played it straight.
I figured at the top of the show, you can't. YouTube will fuck you if you do that.
Mm.
Yeah.
Shocking
I'm trying
content.
I'm trying to get ads on Final Fantasy VII Advent Children right now, and it's disapproved for shocking content. So
Oh.
Mm.
who knows what we said?
With Genova Witness and getting in the
Probably
way?
Genova's Witness was what did it.
Yeah.
So the fight is good, and again, the high fidelity fighting, the smooth animation. It's all so you can tell where the money is going. At least that's what I think. Maybe they, like you said, camera. That's like they animated on the 2s and 3s, and they went back and they're like, add the frames on the 2s, the 3s, the 4s, 5s, put them all in there.
And you really see the Joker sock her a couple hits, because
Which was shocking to me.
Yeah, like you never on the show. So like this is another element that like separates it from the TV series for sure.
Yeah.
And the murder
Joker straight
robot
up
is
jumps
part
out a
of this
window
too.
as well, which is cool. But he gets away, and this is again, she like appears in a cloud of mist where she's standing at the top, and then it like she just like appears, and you're like, she has some sort of teleporter, like some Lex Luthor technology or something. And he says like, aren't you ready to meet your biggest fan, or some bullshit line like that, and turns on a giant jet engine. But again, the way she's got all the smoke around her, and the smoke slowly gets pulled in first, and then all the trash around her, and then her hair starts to go, and you're like, oh my god, this looks so fucking good.
And the echo on his laugh is like really haunting at that point.
This was the moment where I started to I got a little bit sad watching it, because I was like, this is built upon like decades and decades of 2D art, animation, people learning from their predecessors, their mentors, and building on the technologies and the skills that they've developed and crafted to a point that it's like so beautiful. And then beyond this, you look and like it still was growing and growing and growing. And now it like reached a point where it's kind of stopped, and 2D animation it's almost non-existent now. It still exists in different niches, but it's not the same as it was. Unless you look to things like Miyazaki and or even like the Leica movie that's coming out. Like, that's obviously a different type of animation, but like it's a skill, and it's a type of thing that it's not taught widely, and there's not a lot of people seeking it out because there's so many easy answers to it. And I started to think again, like, it's going to be removed almost completely. Like, it'll be like a lost art form at some point because of just like the way that people are leaning so heavily into AI for creativity. It's like, oh man, decades of artistry, an art form that was created within the lifetimes of like our grandparents or great grandparents might be lost within our grandchildren or great grandchildren.
Yeah, an art form that I would also argue draws out a need for ingenuity and creativity and originality that might get choked out a little bit. And hopefully not, but there's something about these methods that, yes, it's arduous and tough, but that also is what manages to surpass that threshold is worth our time to watch, and it's in storytelling worth sharing.
Yeah.
And
you know, like I keep mentioning about the simplicity of the story, but like the artistry within the animation, it's paired so well with simple storytelling, right? Where it's like you're looking at simple visuals paired with simple storytelling, but yet it works so well together that all of it is like outweighed, or it's heavier because of it, you know, like it's important because of it. So then Batman drives a motorcycle into a giant jet engine.
Which also, watching it, I watched it a couple of times, and he just pops a wheelie into the sky. Like, he doesn't.
He's trying to stop for a bit. He's trying to stop for a bit, where he's like, how can I help her? And then he realizes the only way for me to help her is to straighten and go as fast as I can, get ahead of her, launch myself off, grab her from the air, and make sure that my bike destroys the engine before we both.
And it doesn't take out the fan in a normal way. It explodes it, I guess is the best way to put it. When it goes in, first a bunch of electricity.
I think this is budget, where it's like they probably wanted it to like have all the blades get like fucked up by the bike and like an explosion, but then they're like, no, we only have $500,000 left, and we need to do a budget for the marketing.
Yeah, make it look like electricity.
So they're like electricity. Yeah. Okay, that's fine.
And that's also a simple visual way of saying it doesn't work now because you're seeing it short circuit.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So for kids, that's a simple way to depict that, I would think.
Yeah. Just like when his wife went crazy and then they punched her in the head and her brain turned into electricity, and they're like, well, her brain is dead now.
But is this before or after they have the giant like series of explosions happening?
That's after this.
Later.
Oh yeah. Okay.
So this is when Batman shows up.
Yeah. We haven't even gone to the kaiju battle yet.
We're just about there. He leaves. Why do they separate at this point? I can't really remember.
Well, he confronts her and says, like, this is, you know, you managed to make it look like you came after the first kill so you can pin on your father, and and he says you can't have it, vengeance is not the right way, and she says that vengeance is all that she has, and then he just says, he tells her to leave, and and that's when he starts pursuing the Joker on his own.
But
he's trying to insist that like you can't do this. You have to leave it with me.
Okay, and she just agrees.
Yeah.
But she doesn't. She stays. She's just
Yeah.
Maybe it's one of those things where she's slowly walking away, and then she sees like a miniature of like someone who looks like Bruce Wayne and someone looks like her, like inside a miniature, and she's like, I have to go back. Or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, the kaiju battle is so fucking good. I don't think that I've been more happy to forget a fact, which is like when he's going through the model and you see the building in the background, like ding, 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 like a Bugs Bunny thing. It turns out he's got like a weird hat that he's made.
Yes.
Like,
Yes, he's wearing the Empire State Building like a hat.
Yeah.
But it's so funny to me that he does that and then he hits Batman with it, but then he tries to stab Batman with the antenna on the top of it. Like it's such a Joker moment, that whole series of events.
I also like that it seemed, at least the way it's shot, it seems to show that Batman also knows the Joker's sneaking around. Like he's it's not surprised by it. He's like clocking that this guy is
he's in
building is moving around. Yeah.
He's one of these buildings. Like he's
using detective mode. He's using
sure.
detective mode from the Arkham Knight games, and you can see him
LB.
clearly like
ding, 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 ding. The Joker's here somewhere.
Yeah.
This is where we finally get the Joker music. But it's also one of the other things that's funny about it is Batman goes like at one point, and then he like looks down and it's just a bunch of cars hitting his ankle.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah.
It's like a shout of like groinier pain, and it's like a little dinky car. Like, all right,
It hit him right on the the ankle joint where like if it hits you, the skin is thin there. The nerve.
Yeah.
Maybe his boots aren't armored. But yeah, he bashes him over the head with his hat, tries to stab him, and they have a nice kaiju battle, which is, I think, also was in one of the. I have this like visceral memory of this fight happening in one of the comics. I think it might be year 1 or 2, where he fights. I think it's the Joker in like a big like a sort of like 1/15th scale of the city or whatever.
Yeah. It's another one of those simple but effective visuals where like all this fighting is wrecking the city.
Yeah. And it's also like it's goofy, but they don't play it goofy here. Like him wearing the Chrysler Building as a hat is so funny, but him smashing him and trying to stab him with it is so like violent and scary that it's like the balance of the two things it's perfectly good. He knocks Batman out for a bit and then has him deal with a bunch of planes. Another good thing where he's got the remote behind his back and he's just like he's memorized where all the buttons are, right? Like he knows exactly what button to press without looking at it. It's the Joker is just sitting in this place waiting. He's like, I put all these explosives in here. Someone's gonna show up at some point. I'm gonna get to blow it up. And so he's practicing with his little remote. So he knows exactly, or he's just a super genius. I don't know. Anyway, after Batman escapes the planes, he goes out and sees the Joker has like a classic jetpack, like one of those jetpacks from like the old James Bond movies and stuff. On, and this is the first time that he is wearing his PTE, where he's like, "Gotta wear your helmet,
safety first."
Puts a mouth guard in, a moneymaker. And as he's trying to escape, Batman attaches to him, and it's a midair battle for the ages. Even the Joker is like, "Are you crazy? You're gonna kill both of us? Like, let me down, or like at least let me land." And Batman's like, "No, I'm gonna take you down for everything you've done.
Whatever it takes."
Yeah, whatever it takes. I really do like the animation of the Joker flying as well. It's like the way he sticks his legs out, and
the smoke trail showing the spin that they're going through. Yeah.
Again, feels quite anime. Not much else to say here other than
like the crash through that dome, and that's where like they get the classic Joker's run out of punchlines.
Yeah, but he's about to deal with it, and then she shows up again, and they're out of time. They're out of time, guys. There's no time left. Should we show it?
If you can, it's actually one of the best things ever.
Jason?
Sure.
All right. I
I
haven't
can always
loaded
cut
up.
it later if there's an issue.
Mhm.
All right. Let's see here.
You can use the share function.
Share screen.
We're changing the technology proportions of the show right now.
Wait.
This reminds me of Akira almost.
The music.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Tetsuya!
Only there was a killer croc to help me out down here.
Getting flushed like a turd.
Yeah.
Third man.
Yeah, we don't want to talk about that detail, but probably there's a couple floaters there.
Oh yeah, definitely. That water was way too clear.
Yeah.
I think that like that moment paired with the score that we've become familiarized throughout the movie, it's like you've been hearing this grandiose scale throughout and nothing ever quite matched it until that moment where you're like, oh, this is the reason that the music has been to this level of sort of like operatic, kick you in the gut every time it's played. And then it makes sense at the end. It's like their whole world is destroyed. And
yeah, their future is gone. Yeah.
Yeah.
The future that they wanted.
Their future that they wanted was rotted away already, but now it's being obliterated to the point that it can never be rebuilt.
Yeah, there's no going back. Yeah.
What a good movie.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty much the end, except we've got a couple sequences left of Batman back at the Batcave being sad about the fact that he doesn't know if she's alive or dead.
Yeah, and regret that he couldn't save her.
But then he finds the medallion in the Batcave, which means that she's alive.
Yeah,
he got Batman.
He got Batman again. He keeps getting Batman in his own Batman movie.
Mm-hmm.
Which also means, well, I guess she was there when the Batcave was found, right?
More or less, yeah. When she found it on, like
it was probably one of the most magical moments of her life, being proposed to, and then a bunch of bats coming out of a rock crack. That's fucked.
Yeah.
And then we get a picture of her on like a cruise ship or something. I don't know. Like it seems like it's like a New Year's Eve party or whatever, where like some guy comes out with a crown on and he's like, "Oh, a hot lady on deck."
And makes a move, and at least at first sign he says, "Oh, sorry, do you want to be alone?" So it was nice to see someone being respectful for a change.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if it was Bruce Timm directing that sequence, he would have tongued her or whatever. Ham's drawings that he showed us. No, I do like that he went up and like she didn't even really particularly say like get away from me or anything. She was just like, yeah, she just says like yes.
Yeah,
and because she doesn't make eye contact, he's like, oh, I guess I'm sorry. Do you want to be alone? Which is again respectful.
Mm-hmm.
And she's also wearing a veil. Like she's wearing a black veil, which maybe she's in mourning.
It sobers the guy up really quick.
Yeah.
Pretty cool. Yeah. Yikes. But and then that's I mean, I guess the very last sequence is Batman looking somber on a roof, which isn't nothing strange for Batman. But then he swings into the which I think is the only time we see him use his grappling hook
in this movie. I think so. Yeah,
he does off something earlier, I think, but not.
He falls
not as
off
much
a bunch of buildings.
The show, he's constantly grappling.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that's Batman Mask of the Phantasm. He flies towards camera, and we get a weird, maybe not appropriate song at the end. But I mean, it's kind of akin to like it's from a rose on.
Yeah, I liked it.
We are Charlie Kirk.
I liked it too. No. No. Sorry. So, thank you for coming here tonight, all of you. But there's one thing that I must ask you all to do for me now, which is tell us what the Home Alone of it all is. For those of you who are not familiar, the Home Alone of it all is basically the reason that you decided to watch this movie in the first place. Something that you heard about, something that you saw, something that made you really want to watch this movie. It could also just be the moment of the movie that you find to be the most appealing. And I'd like you to tell me all about it, as well as give me a little review of the movie and your final thoughts, and maybe a scaled number of some sort. It could be ridiculous, could be sensical, whatever you want. Anyway, here we go. It's the Home Alone.
If you had to pick one,
what do you think the Home Alone
is the Home Alone of it all?
Can someone please tell me when the Home Alone?
I really gotta know.
When is the Home Alone of it all?
What is the Home Alone of it all? Now that's the Home Alone of it all.
I just realized I usually do that after I play the thing, but I think you guys remember what I said.
Yeah.
Tim, would you like to start us off with the Home Alone of it all?
Certainly. So I'll quickly say it because it's actually two. One is when you first see the Phantasm, because that was the ads that captivated me that winter season coming up to the holidays. And then when my dad said we're going to go see the movie, I was like, I want to find out who is this Phantasm? What's the deal with this Phantasm? And so to get that early in the movie was actually very satisfying as a kid, which kind of speaks to my attention span back then. But where it has a surprise payoff, which ends up being the Home Alone of it all later on in life, is how they punctuate it with the Joker in the latter half, and how well that ties everything together. So I would say those two elements are my pairing Home Alone of it alls that they hold hand in hand. As far as my review of it, I was thinking about this earlier, that perfection would be a word to throw around pointlessly, because there's no such thing as perfection, but in kind of the spirit of what we were talking about before, in the artistry, in the craft work of making animated features like this, and all that, it is masterful in my opinion. And in all things considered, there were limitations and then strange circumstances thrown their way where they were planning for something very different and then had to kind of think on their feet. And it still works, and it may even be under that adversity that they perhaps even tightened a few extra nuts and bolts to achieve that. And outside of that, there's probably not much else I can say that we haven't already said. So my rating, I would give it 4 dead mobsters that had it coming out of 4 dead mobsters that had it coming.
He had it coming. He had it coming. Can Maitland give us your Home Alone of it all?
Yeah, I mean, I think part of what always made me interested in the movie is an aspect that I forgot about until right now, which is that there was that toy that just spoiled it. Like, there was a toy of the Phantasm that had his mask off, and it was just a lady, and you're like, oh, okay. I was too young to really care about that, but I looked it up, and I'm like, oh yeah, that was a thing. It happened a bunch in that era of toys. But I think it's the vocal performances, really. I think it's a very good Kevin Conroy and Dana Delany as Andrea Beaumont.
Yes.
Obviously good enough she became Lois Lane in the future Superman show. So I feel like, it's interesting just because so much of this movie is what would be otherwise deadly, boring romantic plot in a kid's show, very basic. But I think they sell it very well. And both of them are just great at that sort of... the Batman's constant tragedies. I would say that that's kind of my main thing. And I mean, I guess I take Mark Hamill Joker for granted, but he's also up there too. And I'll give it 2 out of 2 Phantasm claws.
Jason R. Phillips, Mask of the Phantasm.
Before I do that, Cam, can you remember your episodes? Because are you at 5 now, or are you at 4?
Oh, I think I'm at 4. I don't
4.
think I would be at 5. No.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think it's this the Mask movie,
Mithrigan 2.
Mithrigan 2, Black Phone, Nightbreed, and Fire in the Sky. This is 5.
Oh. Wow!
5 timer.
Hit him with the theme and the fireworks.
Welcome to the 5 Timers Club. I never thought this would happen.
I can't believe this is happening.
Man.
And he is beautiful.
It's been 85 years since you started podcasting.
Welcome to the 5 Timers Club. I just realized that now. I was like, it's got to be.
Yeah, you're right. I forgot so many of those. Wow.
I'm going to put together a playlist for you, and
wow,
you've done it.
So famous.
But yes, you're both welcome back anytime, of course. For my home alone of it all this week, I think that it's like just this movie being a Batman animated feature that's so like short, and in its shortness compresses so much information. My like favorite parts of the movie are like once the Joker shows up. He doesn't need to be there, but through discussion tonight we realized that like he is like the comic relief character in the movie. So I think he's my home alone of it all this week. And the other thing I said earlier that I can't remember now, it's gone from me. My home alone of it all actually this week is this.
Oh.
As far as final thoughts go, it's a great Batman story, and I think that me realizing that this exists kind of outside of the animated series really helps elevate it to something new and different than what we were used to from the show. You can kind of boil it down to being an extended episode, but when you include this excellent score and these much more cinematically shot segments, it really, as a whole, feels big. And I think that if they had just made it straight to VHS at the time, we wouldn't really look back on it as fondly than as we do it being a movie that went into a theater and had a wide release, or a somewhat wide release, a limited release, but it still showed on theater screens, which I think is a lot. And seeing it with my dad as a kid will always cause me to hold it in that kind of regard as a nostalgic memory. I hope one day that I can show my son something like this. I hope that he will watch this movie one day also and love it as much as I did. When I finally show him that Across the Spider-Verse thing in 10 years, he'll probably like that more, because talk about animating on the 2s and 3s, they animate on the 1s and 2s.
Some new form of entertainment that we haven't even dreamt up yet. Like,
why are you watching movies and shit?
Yeah, he just plugs the thing into his head.
Yeah, and he's like, oh God.
But if I was to give this a rating, I would give this. Didn't really think this through. I do give it a 4 out of 5. I think it is a very special movie in the history of like animated film. It does really like use a lot of old school movie tropes. As somebody that's watched a lot of movies from like the 50s now, it feels like a movie from the 50s in a lot of ways. It's very of its era as a 90s animated film too. If I was to give it a rating, I think I give it, where the fuck is the blimp that they always show in the opening of the Batman animated series?
Sure.
It's in the Man-Bat episode.
Rating.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my rating.
Very good.
Where the fuck is the blimp?
I love the blimp. It's got eyes.
All right, I'll try and keep mine as quick as possible. This movie means a lot to me. It has always meant a lot to me throughout my entire life. The Batman animated series from the 90s is extremely influential to me in terms of what storytelling can be for people of a very young age, while also telling a story that can mean something to people beyond that age and well beyond that age. This movie is a perfect example of the heart of what the Batman animated series is. I think that if you were to try and sell somebody on watching a whole series, it would be difficult. And even just giving them 1 or 2 episodes to watch would be kind of difficult as well. But I think you could get them to watch a movie like this. And if they like this, then they might be more inclined to watch the entirety of the animated series. I think one of the strengths of this movie is that they did something that seemingly should be impossible for Batman, which is to make a movie where they introduce a villain, which is like almost unheard of or anything. And to have the villain be so compelling and cool and interesting and have a really wicked design that stands out amongst already really interesting characters. You can name a Batman villain and they may not be the coolest looking, but they have something intriguing about them. But there's so many Batman villains that look really cool, especially all those absolute ones. No, I'm just kidding. But also those ones are cool too. No hate. Killer Croc with his whole body turning into a mouth. That's pretty wild. As I say, it's meant a lot for me, meant a lot to me for my entire life. But to revisit it every few years it's helpful, like it's something to make me remember, like, you can tell a really, really simple story in a very short amount of time and have it be both compelling, interesting, and succinct, and not feel like you've left stuff to the wind. Everything is really cleanly wrapped up in this, and it's the length of a children's animated feature. I would love to see this made as a live action, but at the same time, if it never is, I'll be completely fine with that as well, because this exists and I can always watch it. My Home Alone of it all is Batman stomping on the guy with the table. Every time the Phantasm says, "Your angel of death approaches," every single time that he talks is cool as hell. I love all the gangsters talking. The reason I can do the bat is because of this animated series and everything beyond it. I learned how to do a lot of stuff from this series, so I kind of owe who I am as a person a lot to the animated series. So I can't really give a full Home Alone of it all. There's too many within this movie. But if I had to pick a sequence of events, it's the Joker sequence when he's just walking him through the world. I'm just being a goofy cartoon character. A rating. I think I would give the rating a beautiful, ambitious vision of the future, rotted from its core, only to see it explode into nothingness, never to be repaired again, only to know that there might be something better beyond that rubble.
Holy shit.
Oh, I forgot that I'm hosting. So what we usually do here is let everybody in our conversation do a little bit of plug energy. If you guys have anything that you'd like to tell the people about who are watching, we are going to do that now. But I first have to play this.
All right, let me just plug this in right here and...
All right, plugs. So, Tim, we'll start with you. Do you have anything that you want to plug on this show's episode?
Not necessarily, just perhaps my potential future episodes where I appear, where we may talk about Phantom of the Paradise or even that computer animated Tintin movie. Those two I would love to talk about.
Sure, yeah.
In the news this week, Peter Jackson's back with the next Tintin.
Yeah.
But otherwise, I encourage people that are watching right now to watch all the other episodes of this podcast. You guys have a lot of great stuff under your belt, and I look forward to what comes next.
Excellent.
Thank you. Thank
So
you.
nice.
Cam, do you have anything you'd like to plug?
Yeah. I do. I mean, if you're watching on YouTube, if you go over to Hollywood Suite on YouTube, like a hotel suite, that's the TV channel I work for. You can see most of our stuff on YouTube these days, or HollywoodSuite.ca. And if you're in Canada, you can just get it as a dang TV channel on your Amazon Prime or whatever, and you'll get sick of me. I'm on it so much.
Yeah,
I love seeing you at Christmas time at my dad's because he has cable, and I'll just be flipping through the channels, and Hollywood Suite will come on, and I'll be like, I know that guy.
Yep, yeah. But it's also all on YouTube now, so you don't even need anything.
It's usually Cam being like, Kathy Bates is one of the best actors who ever lived.
Always Kathy Bates.
Thank you, Cam. Love having you.
Cam.
Welcome to the Five Timers Club.
Wow. Yeah, go watch my other 4 episodes, often supported by people like Tim, doing half the work as I stare off into space.
Yeah.
Jason, do you want me to go first, Jason, and you can go last, or do you want
Sure. Yeah, sure.
Okay. So as always, I like to plug Stanland and all of the Poolsville universe. There's an extended universe coming, much like the Stephen King universe, I guess, where writer Mike Sachs is feverishly writing at his typewriter, giving us lots of fun stuff to record. We're working on a new project right now. We're doing casting and all that kind of fun stuff. And there's lots of really exciting, interesting names involved. I will be a part of that. And as I have been a part of things like Randy, which is playing right now on the Sonar Network, I am in that. I re-edited a bunch of episodes for that, and I did a lot of stuff. So you should check it out because it's quite funny. And I also was in Stanland proper, which is the main show of that feed. It's a fantasy world in which a man goes back to like a Narnia-like world after being absent for many years, and his presence there to begin with causes havoc, and he's now realizing that his presence was maybe not a great influence on this fantasy world. But yeah, Jason's in that as well. Actually, a bunch of us are in it. Check it out. Full of fun celebrities. Good show. I'm also the voice of Darth Theorist and all of the Theorist channels proper. We are growing and growing and growing. But if you like Star Wars and you like creative writing, we've got a growing writing team, and every story is written by a very passionate fan of the Star Wars saga and beyond. And I do all of the narration as well as all the character work. So if you want to hear me do a bunch more crazy voices, I'm sure I did at least 1 or 2 on this episode alone. Check it out. Check it out, guys. Other than that, I'll pass it over to you, Jason.
Cool. First and foremost, this show you can find each and every week right here on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch. You know, after we do the live version of the show, over the course of the weekend, after we put it up on demand, over on Spotify, Apple, for the audio version, and then on YouTube, you can get it on demand forever. Which is great. We do have merchandise that you are able to purchase. Stephen has graciously illustrated all of these amazing pictures. We've got Corporal Tunnel Syndrome. We've got the Howie Mandel Effect. We've got the Grimoire from Killers, which, you know, every Grimoire season that goes by, one of these guys dies. So we're going to need a new one soon. But this is the OG right here. We have the Eldritch Millennial. We have Kill Aid.
Oh, yeah.
We have Twinker fan favorite, of course. And Chef's Fingers. Buy your Chef's Fingers fanny pack. The fanny packs we're pushing the fanny packs really hard right now, weirdly. So you can get all that stuff. I am, of course, the voice of Superkick Wrestling in Toronto. I announce for them each and every month at the Great Hall. We have a show coming up, or an event coming up, I should say, on the 22nd, which is 1 week from tomorrow. And not a lot of matches have been announced. Next week's show, I'll have probably the whole card. But the big draw is Chris Chambers versus Dior Nollins in a chain rope match. They've got a bit of a storied history where the 420 championship seen on Chris Chambers' arm was stolen by Dior Nollins, melted down into a chain. So naturally, because of the rules of wrestling, we're going to take the ropes down and put chains up instead.
You melted my belt into a chain.
You can go to the Super Kick YouTube. You can see a promo video where they explain the whole thing. And there's special effects and everything. It's actually pretty fun and pretty good. And professional wrestler of TNA, Eric Young, is kind of doing a what's it called in Vegas when like Britney Spears is there for a while?
Residency.
A residency. He's kind of doing a residency with us right now. So, you will see him. And there's all sorts of great stuff coming up at Super Kicked. So look out for that. But I think that's the end. And I'll just say that there is just one question, that needs to be asked each and every week. And usually our guests do that. And when there's two guests, I have to count down from 3. So you guys know the name of the show. So 3, 2, 1, and...
Hey, did you see this one?
Jason R. Phillips, Cam Maitland, Tim Covey, your angel of death approaches.
You should just do a whole Gotham City radio right now.
Mr. Fraser Crane, you're here finally.
Oh, yes. Hello, Penguin. Hello. I heard there's a new Phantom in town. Mask of the Phantom, is that it?
No, Phantasm.
Phantasm. Ugh.
Don't know what to do with those phantasms on the scrambled egg.
God.
Coming again.
Beam up some Star Trek content with Live Long and Podcast. A roundtable movie discussion with Hey, did you see this one? And take a peek into the darkness with Heard Noise, Must Investigate with Michael Chan. Watch us duke it out on trivial debates. And let's chat about TV with the Super Mater Brothers. It's all here on the United Federation of Podcasts.
Meow. Meow, 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 meow. Meow, meow. Meow, 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 meow. Meow, 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 meow.